fearless in the war. The legions in our hearts, shed waters in our balls. The spirit and the flesh, the emotions that arrest. The cerebral will contest, propelling the unrest. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded. The teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. With the semblance of a blaze, with gratitude and rage, we touch another page with delirious delight, impervious to light. This vitality and might encourages the flight. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what's a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what was behind the curtain. The face of evil's lurking, with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannon could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. I say, run, run, come, make me get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
I travel by night and I travel by day. I feel the breeze, I feel the call, and I see the gravel and the grass by the way. I hear birds and they're mating call. The toll on the road is a small price to pay, small price to pay for the saving of the race. And so I say, people, what you waiting for? Take one and leave one and take it to go. Make a decision and get on the road. Open your vision for the sun to shine on. Bamboo and acorn and a letter I wrote. Big ones and small ones and a pipe for a toe. The rhythms of time is the horse I ride on. I travel by night and I travel by day. Feel the breeze, I feel the call. And I see the gravel and the grass by the way. I hear birds and they're mating call. The toll on the road is a small price to pay, small price to pay for the saving of the race. And so I say, people, what you waiting for? Will there be raindrops and rainbows so clear? Perhaps some snow angels, maybe a bear. Anticipation in the heart casts a fog upon the road. How far till the train stop? I wish I was there. I glance at the paper just to be clear. All the coming and the going that will be once was foretold. I travel by night and I travel by day. Feel the breeze, I feel the call. And I see the gravel and the grass by the way. I hear birds and they're mating call. The toll on the road is a small price to pay, a small price to pay for the saving of the race. And so I say, people, what you waiting for? Sha-na-na-na-no, sha-na-na-na-ne, sha-na-na-na-no, sha-na-na-na-ne, sha-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-no, sha-na-na-na-no, sha-na-na-na-ne, sha-na-na-na-no, sha-na-na-na-ne, sha-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-no. I travel by night and I travel by day. Feel the breeze, I feel the call. And I see the gravel and the grass by the way. I hear birds and they're mating call. The toll on the road is a small price to pay, a small price to pay for the saving of the race. And so I say, people, what you waiting for?
Yes, indeed. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me okay? How are we doing on the audio? How are we doing on the visuals? How are we doing in general? How are we doing this beautiful weekend? Beautiful September weekend that we're having out here. And thank you, one and all. Thank you. I see in the chat, Eisen Sama. I see in the chat, Dr. Thunder, K Polymath in the house, Gail deep in these streets. Shout out to one and all. Indeed. I travel by night and I travel by day. Feel the breeze, I feel the call. And I see the gravel and the grass by the way. I hear birds and their mating call. The toll on the road is a small price to pay. Small price to pay for the saving of the race. And so I say, people, word them up. We're in the house. And we're having a good time, aren't we? We're going to have a conversation today. A conversation today that perhaps we need to justify the hypothesis. We need to justify the reason why one would even ask the question. What is the question? It says there,
Are certain people considered simps in the corporate world? The simps of the corporate world. Is there a reputation that says, hey, this particular group XYZ does ABC? Ladies and gentlemen. And such a conversation involving a generality, a group with an identity, hits people in the identity. You poke them in their axiom. Hence, you know, it tends to be an interesting conversation, perhaps heated conversation, perhaps conversation with stakes in it, but it's only stakes in the identity realm, right? And insofar as there is an identity and a generality and a reputation of any kind, right? Uh, do the Indians have a reputation in the world of the economy? Perhaps they do. They're killing it in Silicon Valley, right? Do they also have a reputation, let's say, in other aspects of life? There is the area of, let's say, the dating world, which is something that gets talked about often out here in these YouTube streets, if you will, right? In the dating world, there's a reputation, an ethnic reputation, a group reputation. In the business world, there's a group reputation, right? Each little group, right? People say, hey, the small hats, the small hat group got that corner sewn up. I don't know. They have Hollywood and maybe the financial system sewn up. So goes the reputation. In other words, in different aspects of human endeavor, different aspects of human life, there are groups with reputations. And ladies and gentlemen, these are generalities that bear speaking upon. So we are go speak upon it. Right? So justifying the reason why we would ask the question, is saying, hey, there's such a thing as an ethnic reputation, first and foremost. And this ethnic reputation also exists within the domain of the economy. Well, can I get a one in the chat if so far, if we're jiving so far, there is such a thing as an ethnic reputation, a generality, right? We live by generalities, right? You got to start there. That's the idea, though. The idea is you start with a generality, you start with a stereotype, you start with a framework, you start with a little bucket, a categorization, because you can't just go into the world completely empty, completely devoid of concepts, completely devoid of preconceived notions. No, you can't do that. So we form these little pre-categories so that we can sort things out, arrange them, prioritize them, make quick, low resolution decisions, if you will. So it is not a question of, well, it is not a valid point to talk about low resolutions. It is a valid point to talk about things on a high resolution, but it's also valid to talk about it in a low resolution generality. Like, what is the reputation of the Chinese in the sexual marketplace? What is the reputation of the Chinese in the business world, in the political world? What is the reputation of the black man in the corporate society? Is the black man the simp? Now that we've justified fairly, the whole kind of why I asked the question, what is the validity of that? Let's talk about what a simp is. Simp is a word that gets thrown around. It gets thrown around. And like many other words there, when they get thrown around enough, they become cheapened, bastardized, used as cheap insults or something like that. But if we're going to talk about this, we're going to have a working definition, right? We're going to have to put some words on it, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to you guys one more time. Make sure you are subscribing if you are new, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell button while you're at it. Ain't that right, Eisen? Hit the bell button while you are at it. Shout out to Black Heights. So the idea is, what is a simp? A simp is a particular mode of operation. Okay? May I ask for another one in the chat if we understand that a simp is a mode of operation in the sense that a simp is what a simp does. In order to describe what a simp is, you got to describe a mode of operation, right? It is not a person with this particular scar on their left cheek. It is not a person that has a particular barcode on their leg. It is not a person of a particular height, race, color, or anything like that, right? It is a mode, a shape of operation, a manner of being and operating in the world. So, because it's a complex word, it becomes cheapened and thrown around, right? Just like many other words out there, like love, right? I don't even know what the hell love means, by the way. It's everything. Oh, love is the world, and love is the universe, and love is this, and love is my feelings too, right? And love is my lust, and love is this, and like there's love, love, love everywhere. Like who got whatever. But let's go ahead and talk about the mode of operation that a simp is. A simp is a person that is out there. Number one, typically a man. And we'll talk about why it is typically a man. We'll talk about why. Because over here, we keep things simple, measurable, actionable, intuitive. We're not just going to throw words out there. We want to pick them up, right? We're not so smart over here, okay? We're not so smart. We like to take things slowly. So, typically a man that is looking for something out there in the world. So far, you're like, okay, cool. I can see that. So we all got the prerequisites. All men have the prerequisites to be a simp so far. Okay, I'm a man. I have endeavors. I have ends that I would like to meet. I have a dent I would like to put on the universe, whatever it may be, no matter how small or big, right? I have ends to pursue, even if it's just food, clothing, shelter, basic survival. So I'm a man and I'm pursuing certain ends. However, if the environment is not reacting in the way, okay, that if it's not giving me what I want, if I'm not getting the outputs that I expect, what I do is I start wishing, hoping, thinking I deserve, right? Thinking I deserve not to get friend zoned after doing all that lame shit that I did, right? Isn't that right, Eisen? The simp is a man out there pursuing something, but he hopes and wishes and prays that he doesn't get friend zoned vis-a-vis the thing that he's looking for. This friend zoning, obviously, is a very acute image, but the friend zoning can be either the woman that you're trying to get, or the job that you're trying to get, or the promotion that you're trying to get, or whatever it is, recognition or status or money or whatever that you're trying to get. Thinking that you deserve something, thinking that, just hoping, wishing, praying that the thing that you're doing will work. And the thing that you're doing is typically called what? It's typically called being nice. So, since we're slow, right? Since we like to take things slowly, we like to keep things simple, measurable. We've said so far that a simp is a man out there looking for something. And when he does not get it, he does not change his tactics to fit the reality of the world. He rather thinks of himself as deserving something. He rather thinks, oh, well, if I just do my job, people will, they ought to. Or saying things like, well, I don't have to do that in order to get this. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? So where comes this crazy idea here? I haven't defined a simp. Where comes this crazy idea of the simpishness? Is the mode of operation of the black man in the corporate world such that it justifies the stereotype? Shout out, shout out, shout out, ladies and gentlemen. So there was a chat earlier on over here before the show started. Ladies and gentlemen, this was left here. Someone talking now about the particulars. Okay, now that we know that there's such a thing as ethnic reputation, and also that we know that A simp is a mode of operation, right? Of the manner we just described. And because the simpishness is a very subjective thing, it's almost like an internal thing. That kind of thinking that you deserve crap, that kind of thinking that you're holding people to obligations that you should not hold them to. They did not sign a particular contract with you to just give you stuff, to not friend zone you regarding whatever it is you're looking for. So someone says here, not seen as business savvy. And by the way, I'm going to drop the link early on this one right here. It's an open conversation, ladies and gentlemen. So, Eisen, if you want to justify your stance and give us your stereotypes and prejudices and isms, your prejudices and chauvinisms, you can hop in. But someone already said something there, something about, well, not seen as. Is that one that we agree with? Can we get a one if we generally agree with this stereotype that is on the screen? Not seen as business savvy, perhaps because of certain business outcomes, right? Because there are group outcomes, by the way. You can look at a population of human beings, divide them into such groups as ethnic groups, and then look at outcomes: education, business success, income, this, that, and the other. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Thank you, thank you, thank you. I've dropped the link in the chat. Moderators, please invite guests up as we continue to elucidate this point. So, we're no longer in a haze as to what this simp thing is, right? In addition to what is mentioned in the screen, or on the screen, I should say, there is, and we're not even talking about the reasons. The reasons are manifold, as usually is the case. We're not even talking about the reasons here. There's this other thing about corporate America, right? The corporate America, from the point of view from a black voice, being a dangerous, sketchy place, right? And typically, okay, and it is not always the case that one fears what one does not understand. I mean, there's certain things you don't have to understand things or not understand things in order to fear them. You could understand them very well and still be afraid of them. But a lot of times, fear and lack of understanding the levers to pull and the particular inner workings or the intentions of something tend to go hand in hand with fear. Again, lack of understanding, lack of facility or capacity with the levers, or knowing where the levers are, or the intentions are, or how something works, tends to lead to a certain kind of fear. We're not talking about the reasons now. But that is another reputation that is out there. That reputation of, or shall we say, corporate America having a reputation being a deep, dark hole that will swallow you up and chew you up as a black man. So you need to be wary of it. Now, perhaps, 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 a dangerous perhaps. A dangerous perhaps. So let me talk about another thing, about a basic thing about being simpish in a world such as the corporate world. Okay. And shout out to the super chatter, by the way. Let me go ahead and thank you very much, Black Heights. Advancing your career. $10. Starting us off correct. We got Snuggle 688 in the house. She got the double eyes, telling double lies because she never dies. She never tries. She's the $5 super chat monarch coming through with the arc, peeling the bark off the trees, off the breeze in the indies is where I release, trying to kick a few freestyle a cappella style, like the telenovela while I chill, sipping the how are we feeling, ladies and gentlemen? Healthcare. Healthcare. Let me put another general bedrock down on the floor. Perhaps that'll help us have this conversation. And by the way, as I said, the stream is open. Hop on. So we've laid down some bedrocks, right? There's such a thing as ethnic reputation. It's a low resolution way by which we move around the world. These reputations, stereotypes, and so on and so forth. Obviously, it is childish to think, oh, stereotypes are bad and I don't use. No, you need them, just like you need that trash can on your desktop, right? The trash can on your desktop is a low resolution representation, right, of a very complex set of things that need to happen. But you don't want to have to be thinking about the complex set of things that are actually happening when you put it in the trash can. You just want to have a trash can icon. So low resolution allows us to move things in a high space way, or move big things around. So when we have these big objects, these big groups, we have reputations, we have preconceived notions, we have stereotypes about them, and it's a way of categorizing things quickly before we start to whittle things down more. Okay, and if you fail to whittle things down more because you're a dumbass or something like that, then it's not the stereotype's fault. It is not the fault of a stereotype that you cannot get beyond the stereotype. Can I get an amen? Can I get a one in the chat if this is clear? Don't blame a stereotype because you are not able to go beyond the big categories of sorting things out into the minor details. Don't be like, oh, they told me that. It's like, dude, that's your fault. Low resolution maps, like just some simple maps, like generalities, right? They are needed in order to move in the world. If you stay stuck there, that's your fault. And then we talked about what a simp is, right? We say a simp is a mode of operation. A simp is not a simple thing. A simp is a mode of operation. It's a way of action. It's a way of being in the world, a way of doing in the world, a way of expecting in the world, a set of expectations that you have vis-a-vis what you want, but you're putting inputs in and you're not getting the outputs that you want. But you think that you don't deserve to be friend zoned. You think you don't deserve to be whatever, vis-a-vis whatever you want. You don't go in accordance with the rules of the game. You go in accordance with what you wished worked. And what you wish works a lot of times is what we call niceness. If I'm just nice and I do my job and I show up at 6 a.m. at work every day, then they will record, they ought to record. I don't have to do all that other stuff. I don't have to play politics. I don't have to talk to this person. I don't have to go above or beyond. I don't in any way. I don't have to actually do what works. Now, we then went into, well, is there any other, what are some of the generalities out there? Some said, oh, not particularly known as being business savvy is an ethnic reputation. Okay. And we're going to share a video that kind of goes into some of these stuff, especially one by, oh, it's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson. Back at it again. Ladies and gentlemen. The super chats are flowing in. Before I forget them, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Let me go ahead and highlight them. Damn. Very, 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 very generous of you. Very generous of you. And this is our special sponsor of the show. Special sponsor, special moderator. Okay? Make sure you guys go out there and subscribe to the channel. Blind Guy, his wife, their life. Always doing great content. Always very well structured, well organized, very professional. I like how they do their thing over there. Definitely go check it. And also entertaining. Okay. And Corey also busts out some of his freestyling technique too. Corey makes me I gotta sharpen up my game. I gotta clear the throat before I come up here and make sure I'm able to MC this thing right. Because Corey's out there giving me stiff competition. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody said, not known for being business savvy, this particular ethnic reputation. And then I talked about the one about corporate America being seen through the eyes, okay, of Black America as a deep, dark dungeon, generally speaking, a bad place. And that tends to go hand in hand with a certain kind of misunderstanding, a certain kind of lack of capacity to lever in that direction. And people are adding other things to the table. People are adding other things to the table. But let me go ahead and go through the super chats real quickly. Shout out to Blind Guy, his wife, their life. Thank you very much. You say shout out to Ike. And what is the next super chat that we have here? I believe it's Snuggles. We got Snuggles. Snuggles 6. What is she talking about this time? So you are a Nigerian who sings reggae like Jamaican, doing freestyle like an American, and professor of structural engineering. Well, that's all before lunch. So who's next? Thank you very much. The $5 super chat on our crew ended up in my freestyle. So I think you've gotten enough homage. Thank you very much for the across the pond currency. We like different kinds of currency around here. We like to move in different kinds of currencies and banks in different currents, if you will. Shout out to Ike. Hope this is fire. Sizzla Kalonji say hata fire. Hey, Sizzla Kalonji say love you one another. Hey. Sizzla Kalonji say hata fire. Fire keep on blaze. You know what I'm saying? So I believe we have Doug with the $5 coming up next. Shout out to you. One of the great moderators in the space. Doug in the building. And then we have Eisen Sama hitting us with another $5. The American Negro Conglomerate. I know you call it conglomerate because you refuse to call it a community. You have inside jokes inside your treatises, sir. This is polemical of you. The American Negro Conglomerate is only seen as entertainment for other cultures. Do we agree with that one? Is that another one that's out there that kind of lends to this whole thing of corporate simp? You know, you're a dancing monkey. Hey, dance. Dance for the Caucasian. Oh, man. Yes. As I said, conversations that have relevance tend to be, shall we say, difficult. And that's when the humor is needed. Maybe not needed, but useful, especially in a group, right? Definitely. So as we move on with this, okay, and I would like to leave this up here, Eisens, and I believe that's the last of the super chats. So, or no, K Polymath hit us up again, but he's already up on the panel, so he can get his kudos for, we can talk about what you super chatted. You can make your case. And we shall leave up here what Eisen-sama says. But what we've established so far is a few of these stereotypes corroborating the fact that indeed there is an ethnic reputation that points to, hey, the black man is the simp, simping for corporate culture, or the simp of the corporate culture, right? And obviously, we're not going to stop there. Now, there are other videos one could watch on this very channel about, well, are you a simp? For example, that was a conversation with Jay Ibrahim, where in typical Jay Ibrahim style, we went deep into the foundations of simp, right? And what stoicism should be. Stoicism is the opposite of simp. Now, I promised you guys something, and then I'm going to go to our guest here. And the panel is open. You guys hop in. I promised you something. Remember we said that a simp typically is a man. And then I said, hey, we will get to why it is typically a man. And then I said, a simp is a mode of operation whereby you're looking for something, and then when you don't get the outputs, when your environment is not reacting in the way that you want, Rather than changing your approach, you hope and wish and secretly, do that thing. And the best way to say it is you think you don't deserve to be friend zoned with your lame ass. So, why is it a man that this is an issue for? Well, because a man needs to take care of protection and provision. He needs to take care of the environment. You know what I mean? The border, okay, and the spears coming from the other side of the border. Something about borders and spears and having to build shelter and stuff like that. It doesn't give a F about your feelings. Can I get a one in the chat? If why the whole simp problem is a man problem, right? Why it's not a female insult is because a man has a task, generally speaking, that has to do with taking care of the external world. And the external world doesn't get an F about what you think you deserve to how you deserve to get it. The deer is not just going to lay down there for you because you're hungry, right? That is why it's a problem. If you are acting in that way, if you take that mode of operation as a man, that is why it is a problem. Seems like we understand that, right? But anyways, we got a guest. Let's go ahead and start this panel off. There's much more to say, much more to share. I got some videos and so on and so forth. We're going to kick back, relax, open up the Moet if you're celebrating that kind of celebration. Or maybe it's a Chianti kind of night, right? Maybe it's a Chardonnay. Maybe it's a water. How's it going, Mr. Dr. Polymath?
Yeah, man. You gotta respect that name. Can't be calling me Mr. out here.
You're Dr. Polymath, my sidekick.
Okay, that's fine. You can diminish my name by calling you a sidekick, but that's calm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, the side man these days is a guy eating the main course, anyways, right?
Damn, you said the side guy is eating the main course. Go ahead, I like it.
Yeah. So I got a few things to say here on this whole simp thing, right? So I'll go off by giving a slight example of what happened in my personal experience. When I was at university doing my degree, I set up an engineering society basically to help Black people, men and women, to get jobs after / understand what sort of value they can bring on in a corporate culture. Now, this is what happened. When it got set up, I had literal hardcore strategies on how to get ahead in the engineering field. I said, okay, cool. You guys want to be researchers? This is how you get ahead of researching. You got to get papers published. So write good research papers, get it published, and then that's going to build a strong foundation regardless of your race, right? I even told them, if you guys come together, let's say me and you, Ike, we write a research paper together, we publish it. Next time you get an idea, you ask me to come on your paper. For every one paper, we both have 2. Now, if there's a group of 5 of you, you see how the math works, right? That's what the Chinese people do. Do you know what happened instead? They rather, and these are mostly Black women, but Black men were there supporting them, was saying that, hey, let's bring up some person to come speak to us about how unfair the corporate structure is for Black people instead. So instead of taking on
what type of engineering, K Polymath? Because I think you've gone enough for me to do my thing where I take you back to the beginning.
Okay, cool.
So what type of engineering was this?
Well, this is research engineering. So it's like, nanotechnology, physics, stuff based on mechanical stress analysis, just it was all engineering, right? I was working with different people.
So, and then you had a strategy that involved the group, but it involved some kind of group teamwork that may be seen as, a little nepotism, right?
Right. Helping people.
What's the description I'm looking for? I don't want to be using these strange words like nepotism.
That is it.
Yeah. So you wanted to do some nepotism, right?
Right.
Which, let's say, for example, let me use my kind of experience, for example, right? Let's say you're a Nigerian, right? You're a crooked Nigerian like me. Right?
No, I'm an honest man, but go on.
Okay, let's say like me, you're a crooked Nigerian, right? And you want to get certain things done, right? It takes a group effort, okay? And it takes some shenanigans behind the scenes.
Right, 100%.
Maybe it takes some people switching their passport photographs and that other guy's thing with this other guy's number from Europe and through Germany. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it involves all that kind of stuff.
Hey, don't give away too much game, right?
I'm not going to give away too much game, but the point is, the ability to do this is key. But you introduce this kind of an idea, which many other groups kind of know, right?
Yeah, Chinese did it.
What happened in this group? You said that they rather invite somebody to do politics. The reason why I stopped you
is because you defined very nicely a very nice little thesis, which is that the focus on, economics over politics, you know that one quite right. The focus on politics, right, when it comes to group action, in terms of the going through the recognized organs, going through the
Right.
media, agitating, writing letters and marching, and no, again, they rather write letters, march, okay, agitate over here, vote, things like that, rather than just go behind the scenes and pull some strings through Germany with the bada boom bada bing, right?
100%. That's exactly what happened. And I was like, what's happening here? Like, I was like, look, you want to catch up to the Chinese. The Chinese have a nice strategy for every one paper one guy has, he's got 10 papers. And that's how you get hired. The more research papers you have in your name. They don't even care if you're the first author, meaning you were the originator. That helps, sure, but quantity over so-called quality. And even then, it doesn't diminish your quality because you're not doing anything. All you're doing is just sharing work, asking someone to add a paragraph here, helping one experiment over there, and then you get yourself ahead. And guess what? They can't come against you and say they helped you get there because they didn't help you. But instead, they rather take the money, pay someone else to come speak about how unfair things are, and no solutions. That's the main thing that I saw. Zero solutions in this whole situation. What happened is I left the group that I started in the end, did my own thing, got myself a job, and then left them behind. Now, one of them joined me though. One of them did call back, say, "Hey, Kaiser, I really respect the wisdom here. Let's help each other out." So one of them actually came back. It was a black man actually, and did say, "Okay, you know what? Let's do this across life. We'll be helping each other, information and business ideas." And so I did respect him, but he didn't do it in the group though. In the group, he just went along and even told me, "Hey, you got to be wise."
So let me it's interesting. It is, because on the flip side though, here's the thing about the community. There's a communitarian aspect of it, in the sense that, think about the Black Manosphere, for example, right? There is a community aspect to it, okay? Now, however, the way the community wants to operate, again, I said politics over economics. I didn't say there was no group action taken, right? There's group action taken, but the group action is always of a political nature. It is always of, I am going to speak, march, preach, maybe entertain and dance my way through it, as opposed to actual picking up of some levers of action that may involve some crooked dealings. Now, do you think, because some people say, that there's another, that going with the whole same thing, the black man is kind of too nice, or does not, is there a moral aspect to this thing, in the sense that politics, after all, assumes that you have a moral high ground, or some kind of a high ground, right? Money high ground, power high ground, moral high ground, whatever high ground, right? They rather go the high ground route rather than just go behind the scenes and get shit done. Is that an aspect to this?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like, okay, obviously we're talking about black men, meaning men from the West, right? But I do think that this is common in all African cultures, apart from a couple like the Somalis. But most African culture is to be so-called inviting, allow people to come through, and for you to give them a certain kind of level of respect, and and I think that obviously carries on to black people in the West as well. And I think that kind of insistent need to somehow be good or caring to other people is what's getting us in problems, because we're not thinking and seeing that this is literally a world of competition with other men out there, that somehow this idea of morality has got nothing to do with anything. We're allowing ourselves to get outcompeted because we believe that we're right. We might be on the right. That's the thing. I actually think we are in many of these cases. Black men will argue and say, okay, it's because of us that the other races have what they have, especially in places like America, right? Where black people have sacrificed their lives to get the equality and treatment. The difference is, though, as black men are sacrificing their lives to get equal treatment, other races are making movements behind them or in front of their backs, and they're getting more money, power, and leverage over the system.
Let's talk about Africa, right? So let's talk about the same problem in Africa, right? Let's talk about people, rather than having to do certain things, right? They rather just talking in terms of narratives and alliances and new chapters that are going to come, whereby all you got to do now is make the new friend, right? Maybe, oh, it's the Chinese, right? Well, they're not like the white man.
Right. Oh my God.
Without right. Anyways, let me not go on about that. Okay, you get the landscape I'm drawing out here, but for the audience, once again, same situation there, where you think just by making the right friends, shit is gonna happen. No, shit is not gonna happen like that, right? So tell us about that same mentality that goes on with Africa with regards to making movements in the world. Okay, because when we talk about corporate world, we're talking about the world of the economy, the world of containers of goods coming out of manufacturers' plants, going into ships and arriving in your world. The world of nuclear power plants, oil, and the people who fight over oil, and the bombs and the jets that get built to kill your ass over the oil. That whole world is what we're talking about.
Right.
Okay?
So
that's the world, the world of power. So go ahead and tell us how all the simping that goes on in Africa.
Yeah, so Africans have even a worse situation, I would say. The similar problem, worse situation. What happens there is this, right? I call the white man kakuna. The kakunas come through, right? They sell you a dream, they sell you a Bible, then they enslave you and they mistreat you and do all that crap to you. And then you say, you know what, they're so bad, right? The Chinese comes in, gives you a bit of a loan. Again, do you know what they say instead? They say that the Chinese are better than the kakuna. Somehow the Chinese are helping us. Note the words that they use, words like help, better. Oh, they're not quite the same as them. In reality, what you need to know is any foreigner that comes into a land which has resources is going to exploit you. That's the fact. There is no good or bad foreigner. There's just a foreigner who wants to exploit you. They all do. They need to be thinking about is, you know what? How do we protect our investments? Make sure that we're not getting the worst end of this deal. That's it. Nothing else. How nice they are is irrelevant. The Chinese is not coming in there thinking, hey, we really like these people, that very cool people. You know, I really like to be Africa. No, Chinese niggas ain't saying that, right? Chinese people are coming through to get their paper. I hope there's no one here hearing me because there's quite a lot of them here. Oh well, I'm actually in the office at 3:43 a.m.
Oh, you're over there in corporate America, hoping you're being a simp, being scared. You see him live on the show about black men being corporate simp. He's out there speaking his mind, and it's like, oh, I hope they don't hear me.
Yeah, because I'm shouting out here. So if they hear me, right, they're actually nice. I actually like them. That's the thing, and I have business with them. So it's not like I write papers with them, right? So they're part of my business partners because black men didn't want to generally do it with me, so I did it with them. Because the only way, look, people say things like this: why is there no Black Nobel Prize winner? Why? Because it's a rigged game. You need to be able to even be in a position to then therefore own your own lab so that you can then do the research, right? It's a rigged system. Unless you get there, you ain't got no chance. It ain't about who's the smartest nigga out there. It's the one who's got the crew that's working for them in a certain way.
I see. Okay, cool. So let me, do you think that my framework of too much political action, less economic, less movement, less, to use your language, less TE thinking, and too much of this kind of a righteous path, or the path that wants to argue that it's righteous, because it's not about righteousness, it's just about power there, but wanting to play political power games and perhaps wanting to have the photo ops, right? Where it's like, we struggle through, like, oh, we suffered this and now we have the right friends and then this one, it's like, no, if you take this little hat people, when they said never again, they didn't just say it, right? They've been killing MFers.
Okay, but to be fair, we have to win at something, right? So the Victim Olympics is one where we can win, right? Even these dusky, pesky Apple people, right? I'm not going to finish the last part of it. You guys you know who I'm talking about. This false Apple, the drink that you guys drink. You know what I'm talking about. These pesky people will say, oh, they were oppressed. About 2 million of them were killed. We can say, no. Listen, for hundreds of millions of our brothers were oppressed. And that's a fact. So we're never going to lose on the oppression Olympics. But the issue here is we've now got so fixated on the oppression Olympics that we take it with us subconsciously, subliminally, to a point whereby we're actually allowing it to prevent us from being able to improve the lives of our own children, right? See, if we've given up by ourselves, that's okay. But if we're now putting our children in a position whereby they can't uplift themselves, we're failing at that point.
Shout out, shout out, shout out. So I think that, okay, let me just do a quick, very, very quick recap with an inclusion of what you have introduced to us, okay, which is the whole kind of the big picture that we're talking about, okay? We were just talking about, oh, being a simp in some corner office, but we're talking about moving jets and billions of dollars and crates full of nuclear material or something, right? We're talking about power in the world, and it begins and ends with certain kinds of reputation. In this particular case, we're keeping it a low resolution. We're saying, is there an ethnic reputation? Are there reasons for talking about the ethnic reputation this way? And we've all seemed to agree that, okay, I'm not particularly seen as business savvy and so on and so forth, right? And then we started talking about perhaps the reasons why. And then that there is a tendency to move towards politics rather than grabbing a handle behind the scenes, where nobody's going to see you and perhaps no one really says any or whatever, and there's no real hoopla over it. There's no march perhaps about it, but you've taken over power somehow. You've moved your group forward somehow. You have, to give your example now, coming to you, you have organized with a group of people to help each other write papers so that you can beat the Chinese in terms of papers generated, so you can be cited and so on and so forth in the whole PhD game. Rather than do that, people decided to hear a speech about unfairness. That's where we are so far. And shout out to Blind Guy, his wife, their life. You got the floor, you got the mic. How you guys doing?
Hey there.
Hey, Big Ike.
We're doing great. It's nighttime. We've got our Chianti, or what did you named a couple of different drinks of choice. I'm not going to say the one that we chose. I'll just say
I got a real fancy wine called H2O.
Nice. Exactly. That I favor that one too myself. I like to say I worship at the church of hydration myself.
I gotta do this.
You got to do what?
Blind Guy and his wife, Big Ike tonight. Bless the mic. Doing it all with no sight. Ike.
Damn.
Yep.
Damn, he came on my show and he murdered him. It's like he murked him right there on his own show.
Oh, no,
go down.
You gotta be careful, man. You can't, if he's murdering people out here, he might go to jail. So
with no sight, bam. Okay, I guess no retort.
Let me tell you, Ike. Okay, so we've got an interesting dynamic here. I present to you, Corey is simping. I was like, Corey, you got to go out there. I was like, Corey, you're the simp. I'm going to tell you what to do. You got to do it. Ike was in there talking trash. He was like, I was like, Corey, go defend my honor. Go defend our honor.
I was on the live. He was talking trash, kicking knowledge of science with Dr. Polly Math.
Yo, this guy's got bars.
Okay.
He's got more bars in prison.
So that's how we roll it.
I gotta put that in the rhyme next time.
More bars in prison.
More bars in prison.
Yeah, so we came in, just to chime in. I know black men are black men the ultimate simp, right? And I was listening to you, and I was like, hey, Corey, do this. And of course, Corey's going to pacify me. He changes his shirt, he cleans his face, he gets a cup of water, and boom, here he is.
My face was dirty, but okay.
Well, you know what I mean.
Anyway.
Oh no, I know how it is. I think I'm a weirdo like that. Actually, before I stream, okay, so I'm sitting on the computer, I'm working all day, I have a cup of coffee, whatever, I go downstairs, whatever. But before I stream, I actually take a shower every time. I don't. There's just something about like.
It's
I don't know what it is.
It's refreshing. It is refreshing because when
feel fresh, come out here, can't be out here, disrespecting the audience, smelling like chicken,
Right. Or something worse, but okay.
Excellent. But what are your thoughts on this whole thing about, there is an ethnic reputation? You can take it from that angle of, okay, well, what do you think about ethnic reputations generally speaking, right? And the ethnic reputation is such that it says, not a lot of corporate savvy, not a lot of group economic action on a large scale to kind of get things done. And even on a micro level, there is that notion of the educated lame, right? In other words, there is a whole kind of weird relationship with standards, international standards of business and such, right? With the black man. Am I
Yeah.
just okay? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm looking at it from the standpoint, and like I said, I do a lot of sports analogies because I really like sports. And
Well, you were an athlete
yeah,
before you lost your
before I
sight.
lost my sight, I was an athlete.
No, 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 you still are. He beats the kids at Wii boxing. But go ahead.
That doesn't count as athletics, I don't think. But anyway, but yeah, but just the way that black men are described in all arenas. Like I said, it was several years ago. Doc Rivers, basketball player, was talking about different scouting reports on how black people are described in versus white players. You hear he's a leader, a field general. He commands the floor. He commands the field. He's the precision. He's precise with his decision making, quick with his actions. And then you hear great leaping ability, fast, quick crossover. And just by listening to the two comments and the two descriptions on the draft report, you already know where who's who just by listening. So just by what I said, who was the African American player or the black player based on those two descriptions? I'm asking y'all.
Second one.
Exactly, the second one. And it even those expectations even fall not just in the world of sports, but just even in the executive, even in corporate positions. Because I know for me, being someone that's blind, there's not, and I'm black, there's not a high level of expectation for me to be successful in any corporate setting. And I have to go. I've worked at it in a banking setting before and had to show and prove that I have value beyond being black. But I kind of enjoy that role of being perceived as a simp or not being effective in the corporate world, because what happens is I only have to do the smallest thing and blow their minds, and then I can show and prove all the other things that I can do. And so that's served me well in our with our business as far as being educational artists and educators. It serves me. People don't expect anything out of me because I am a black guy, because I'm blind, and I work it like, okay, that's what you think. Okay, let me show you something. And then when I come in and come through, case in point, one of the jobs that I worked, I actually was able to deliver a Hollywood movie star to an event, and nobody expected me to be able to pull that off. And I did it and did it under budget. And so then it was like, well, what else can you do? It's like, yeah, what else can I do? And I know a popular term in the YouTube world right now is Trojan horse. I like being the Trojan horse. I like being able to be the one to go in and be the one that people are focused on, because okay, here's the blind guy, he's doing this. Here's the black guy, the black blind guy who's doing this, and then be able to use that, like you said, with the paper writing. That was a great idea that I would never thought of. Like when you said, instead of getting there to go in to hear a speech, get all the PhDs together and write a bunch of papers and just outright them. That right there was genius. That's a Trojan horse right there. Like one person gets into the floor, gets the arena or gets the floor, and then they bring everybody else's talents to the table to outperform the other groups. And that's where I think we missed the mark, is that we're so focused on being individual stars that we forget that whole team effort that's needed to be for our people to be great. The great people that they are. And so I really appreciate you saying that. And like I said, I always tell people, like I said, I'm into sports and I can't help it. It's just part of my nature. Michael Jordan did get one championship ring until Scottie Pippen came along. So it takes a whole team of people. So if we get that one superstar in the door, that superstar serves the Trojan horse to bring everybody else's talents to the floor. I think that's when we actually can see some major gains in all corporate arenas, in all arenas for black people around the world.
Damn. Well, that is very good. And let me well, did you have before, because that's a lot on the table. So let me so I can pre-digest and reconvene here with the first thing you mentioned was that idea of being underestimated, or to quote George Bush, misunderestimated, right? But people always give George Bush a hard time about his speaking, but actually wasn't that bad when you go back and look at it now, like, compared to other things we've heard, especially in recent times. But anyways, you're talking about being underestimated, okay? And someone may say, oh, but that's not. Look, you take whatever kind of advantage, right, that you have, right? That is the whole point that we've been talking about, right? About doing, whether it's the paper scenario, writing those papers, whatever, doing things in order to just move the ball forward, regardless of whether it's the most glorious and beautiful way of doing it, right? The most righteous way of doing it, the most way with the cameras and everything, and involves signing of legislation way of doing it, right? So you're saying, hey, if I can go in and get that interview, or get a chance at the job because they did not expect much from the interview, but then I was like, boom, I hit them. Then I get the job, and then, as you said, then you can show them all the other good stuff you got, right?
Right.
But also, you're talking about this, the whole team thing too. The idea that, yes, everybody has their individual stars, right? But the idea is, when that one star gets in the room, you then organize and do your things behind the scenes. Now, I like to use the Nigerian example because it's generally negative, so you can't really come for me. You can't attack me, like, because I'm like, hey, the crooked Nigerians and their crooked emails and stuff like that, right?
You know, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to say, wait, is this the average Nigerian or the stereotypical crooked Nigerian? But you already set the stage, so
there's one reputation for Nigerians in the world of business. How many other reputations do you know? It's one, right? I mean, the crooked Nigerians, okay, and their email scams, which are now old. Now that's we've moved past that like decades ago.
Actually, another one did an email scam recently in the UK. Do you know what he did? He sent people HMRC, so that's a home. It's like the revenue people, the taxes, saying that you're due £400 taxes, right? So these people went out there, signed off into this tax thing. He collected 185,000. This is a young kid as well, 17. I respect this guy. I mean, sure, he's gone to prison for 18 months, but the guy is genius. Now, if he gets put through the right training with the ethical hacking, this brother is going to be a very successful businessman. He just needs a bit more training and, towards the right direction, because that's talent. Right? He's not out there killing people, doing evil things. Now, sure, he's stealing from people, and that's wrong. But we should also see the talent in there and help him out. Help him.
Indeed.
Yeah, and so I got an example about that, how that works on the flip side, in the I guess, for lack of better words, the non-African or non-African American world, and you guys can figure it out from there. But there was a movie several years ago. This is back when I was probably in my early 20s. This kid had found a way to make himself a fake airline badge, fake passports, everything he needed. And he even got to the point where he flew the plane and was like a pilot, a co-pilot. He had some kind of position where he was just traveling as a pilot, and he was underage, got caught, and they actually turned around later and gave him a job for airline security. Because it was like, wow. And they said this is based on a true story. And I wish I knew the name of the movie, the name of the guy, but it was so crazy that it's like, now, if we do that, we say, okay, like you said, the Nigerian, the example you're giving, the emails and stuff like that, we don't say, this kid's got talent. Let's just twist that to a more corporate advantage and teach him some other skills. And then he could be, like you said, he'd be a dangerous millionaire. But I'm sorry, Ike, I just kind of took over your thought.
No, that's a perfect little, yes, good little continuation there, because you're talking about somebody going in and then bringing the rest of the crew along. In that bringing the rest of the crew along, there's some kind of behind the scenes kind of movements. And I was using the Nigerian example to show that even if it's something bad you guys are doing from a particular perspective, right? The idea is you can connect and move the ball forward together, right? And all you got to do is check a box in a form somewhere to go from illegitimate to legitimate, right? It's like a lot of times, and I talk about this thing, I always say, that if you're not breaking some rules, you're not really trying hard enough. You're not really doing stuff if you're not breaking some rules, man. Like, because the rules, now there's ethics, there's morality, and then there's the law, okay? Now, the law in particular, legislation, ordinances, and so on and so forth, has to do with interests, particular interests that have been there to solidify themselves. It may be a union, it may be a particular group of whatever particular interest that it is. Real estate people, for example, put in some law in New York City that says only them can buy whatever in this corner, right? And then you look at it as though it was said by God. right? That's how many of these laws are, okay? And if you're going to blaze a trail like Uber, then you're going to be breaking the taxi people laws and they're violating the unions. And if you're going to blaze a trail like Airbnb, you're going to be violating hotel regulations, right? So if you're going to do things in the world, you can almost test it. Like, how hard am I trying? Okay. And this is a Nigerian in me. Okay. Let me, you see, we're good for something. Okay. We're good for something, right? My contribution to this whole thing is a way. Okay. The Nigerian code is, how hard am I trying? How many rules have I broken this week? Okay. that should be, how hard am I trying? Well, the answer is, how many rules have I broken this week?
Measure of
Look,
success.
Quiddy, you're Nigerian.
Boom.
I call Laquita a habitual line stepper.
Man, I'm looking for the line. I'm stepping. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I did break some
Dr.
rules.
Polymath, go ahead.
Yeah, I did actually break some rules during my degree. I was actually out there late at night by myself, like I am right now in the office. But in the labs, you're not really supposed to be there by yourself, unless you've got some special arrangements. And I wasn't going to go through that. What that allowed me is that I had the space to conduct my experiments in a chaotic way that my brain best can do it. I had someone saying I'm going over, impeding on their space. And I think that allowed me to just sort of focus and get things done. And one thing that I do want to say and put to context here, obviously, so people know where we're coming from, I do think there's obviously discrimination, but I don't think that's I'm only just putting it out there so that if someone's rewatching the video, they know that we're coming at this from nuance. When I went into the office, in the PhD office the first time, one thing I noticed is this. I thought these were going to be genius kids studying, physics and all these other stuff. They were just average people. Okay, they were obviously slightly above average, but they were just people. There was nothing special about them. None of them was smarter than me. Maybe one of them, but a lot of them didn't even have the same qualifications I had to get into that program. A lot of them were actually underqualified to get into any program. And there was not a single Black person that was underqualified who was in that program. That's interesting thing that I saw. So there is an obvious fact is you do have to perform. You do have to maintain a certain standard, and people will be looking for you to fail. This is all true, right? Even in my current job, although they see that I'm slightly, not going to allow that to happen. But I think the point here is you just have to always have that mentality and mindset of where am I going next? Because if now what I've done is I've opened up the doors to some people, next time someone's going to have a much easier door because I've been through that door. Now I can actually help them, show them. And guess what I did? I actually got some people through that door too. I've helped them, mentored them, helped them with the working, the writings. And, I believe that's part of the journey that we should kind of do.
Snuggles doesn't believe you're in the office, K Polymath. I don't know if you have a
I got a camera. Let me go get it. Huh?
argument with her. And Snuggles was also asking Blind Guy, his wife, their life about how Americans can get powerful. I don't know if that was a relevant, or you guys were having a conversation about such, or it's just Snuggles being Snuggles.
What was the question that Snuggles asked?
How did America get powerful?
How did America get powerful?
Americans, yeah. Americans.
We're looking at the country. It's basically by the war, the Western war machine. I mean, that's simple enough right there. You take your army, you go somewhere, you crush those people, and then you colonize, and then you leave the chaos and destruction behind, and then you sit back and reap the benefits of it. That's simple.
I like that because that's a very good. Wow, I didn't even know that this instance was going to be like a very great encapsulation of all we've said so far, which is basically, well, that is the that's the epitome of not doing things a political way, right?
Right, exactly.
They pulled, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted Corey to know that currently, Corey, there is the Simpsons couch. Like at the beginning of the show.
Oh yeah, where they all race to the couch to sit down.
Yeah, just so that you know, like right now, it's right before that point. He just has that image up. So
Simps. Oh, thank you. IQ, you're a funny guy.
Well, it's wow. I didn't know anyone was gonna get that part as well. But also, you know how O'Shea Duke Jackson uses it as his opening.
Yes,
I'm
he
like,
does, Corey.
so I was gonna play a video of it, but I also I was like, oh, this is O'Shea. He does the same thing too, and I put in nice catch there.
My favorite
let me
one is when the
see.
Simpsons are sitting down on the couch and then they run in there already. Some other Simpsons are already there.
So yeah,
So-
Corey could see back then. Yeah, you saw the Simpsons.
Yeah, I saw The Simpsons, yeah.
I forgot about that. You could see that.
I'm going to play something because this complicates things further in the sense that, okay, we've talked about, okay, well, too much political focus and so on and so forth. However, there's another aspect too of, shall we say, people wanting handouts from you if you are from certain communities, whether you're an immigrant from Africa coming to the United States and then you have to feed your whole village back there. Or you make it, if you will, in the United States, and now everyone has their handout, right? That kind of a thing. And this is what this video from your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, is about. So we're going to go ahead and play it. And it's about Master P. And it's nothing we've not heard before, generally speaking. But let's just see what we think, ladies and gentlemen.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson. Back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. Now, this one goes out to all of the black men, the African American men, some of the brothers from Africa and the Caribbean. If you know what it feels like to have nothing and to come up and make something of yourself, right? This is going to hit home to a lot of you brothers, especially when a lot of people didn't feel that you would amount to anything, right? But whatever intestinal fortitude you had, you worked really hard, and then you decided that you were going to make something of yourself. You were not going to let your situations hold you back. You know, that you had your own self accountability and ownership and agency over your own situations. And then when you make it, people have their hands out. People are begging for you for stuff. And it bleeds a black man dry, okay? I'm sorry. African Americans don't have to deal with it so much, but I'm in Africa right now, and this is the toughest place to make it because people always have their hands out. And I will say that for the brothers that are from Africa, from the Caribbean, Haiti, and stuff like that. My heart goes out to you because I understand what stress you're up against. But this is what's happening to our brother Master P, okay? Now, we know that Master P is a self-made brother, okay? He came from nothing, from New Orleans. He went out and he made a lot of money for himself off his own work. All right? His own work. Nobody gave the guy anything. He moved to the Bay Area. He did it on his own work, and he put everybody in his family on, including C Murder, who don't have that much talent. All right? Now, here's what's happened, or what's happening. Master P built a no-limit empire, made of the $300 or $400 million. His brother, who is a hothead, allegedly commits this murder. Now, I don't know if that's the truth or not, but he does. And then Master P calls out Monica and Kim Kardashian for being fake and all of this stuff. But then, you know, C Murder comes out and congratulates, you know, Monica and Kim Kardashian for helping him out. And Master P felt some kind of way about that. He's like, listen, bro, I've been there for you all the time. Why are you not showing me that kind of respect? But then it comes out that Master P supposedly is cheap. He don't love his mama. He don't care about his family. And this comes from a family member, right, who responded to this. And I want to read what she had to say, okay? She says this. Date music. B, Master P, Percy Miller, and that's straight from the Miller family. Where the F have you been while we selling socks to support Corey because you want nothing to do with him? My mama been back and forth for years, making the cost and the money and visits. Then she talked about how he didn't help her dad get an eye, his own father get an eye surgery.
All right, we generally get the general picture. Now, before we generally react to this aspect of things, okay, and what is this aspect of things? This aspect of things is the family pressure and how to handle that dynamic. There is something about getting out of a particular mindset, a group of people where a particular spirit dominates, a particular set of thoughts dominates, right? And you get out of there, okay? And you know that whether you love them or not, and so on and so forth, you can't really deal with those people anymore in order to keep on going, right? And those people usually have a lot of things to say about you. It's another dynamic again with the whole group thing, because we're saying on the one hand, yes, one person goes in and then you organize, but then we're talking about people who are capable, right? When K Polymath talked about the whole paper writing thing, it's like, okay, cool. We have one genius and then rest, above average people in intelligence. Okay, we can work with each other, but we're not going to go work with people whom are going to bring you baby mama drama and all kinds of crap, right? That's not the idea. But anyways, I believe we have is it Kareen or Karen in the house?
Hey, good night. It's Kareen.
It's Kareen. You got the floor. You got the mic. What you got for us?
Hey, good night. Okay, first, I love your music. I would love for you to do a collab with Sizzler or Capleton. I think you guys would do great together.
Fire. Indeed.
Yes, more fire. Okay. Now, I think, when the brother was speaking about, the fellas didn't want to, collaborate with him, and, the focus was not on the economic end, it was more political. I think it would need to be tackled on both ends, because it's good to focus on the economics, but also the political end also brings attention to it. And I'll, mention like with South Africa, where, there were boycotts of like Shell and things like that, but also, countries speaking out and people marching and speaking out against it also brought attention, which also brought change. So I think it needs to be tackled on both ends. I work in the corporate environment. And as a matter of fact, I was speaking to a friend, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, about the image of Black men, or how we see Black men in the corporate sector, in the, upper level management positions. And they are simps for the most part. These brothers, they kind of just go along and do what they're told. Whereas I find us Black women, we are more the ones that'll speak up, and, we're more the rebellious type. And I wonder financially, the brothers, they benefit, but how does that affect them in their home life and in their personal life? Because, you're going in and you're just doing what you're told, and you're playing more of a mild-mannered role, which probably isn't really you, but you're just doing it, because that's what expected of you. Because, if you come out a little too strong, it's like the angry Black man type of thing. How does it affect a Black man, a successful Black man in his personal life? Does it make him feel less than at home, or is he going to take it out on his family? I you know what I mean? Because the balance isn't there. The Black men I see in the corporate sector, I work with upper management. I'm in international logistics, and, VPs and things like that. The Black men, they don't speak out. They just kind of take it. They're making the money, but they just take it, whereas a woman, we Black women will speak out, and, we're not afraid of whatever repercussions come our way, but we don't face the same repercussions as our Black brothers.
Okay, there are few, as a matter of fact, there are many things there that you said. Let's start backwards with the last thing having to do with the differences in the gender there, or sex, or whatever they want me to call it these days, right? So men tend to submit and get in line more than women. That's how men operate, generally speaking. Okay, it sounds strange. Like, what do you mean? Aren't you supposed to be there fighting the enemy? How do you fight the enemy? You fight the enemy by getting in line. You follow the orders of General so-and-so. You don't question things. You submit, right? So it's now, I'm not saying that explains everything, but it's it's part of what it's part of the soup there that you brought up, and I said that, and it's something that people tend not to understand, that dynamic between men and women, is in that men organize themselves in hierarchies very easily, and then they stick to it in order to get things done. They can separate their emotions from it also, right? They can be like, this is it, right? I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna keep it real, right? When keeping it real goes wrong, shout out to Dave Chappelle, right? I'm gonna do this. That is something that is an ingredient when viewed from a woman's perspective. Also, perhaps see that men actually get in line because it's part of what they do. Because when you have to do the external things, as I said, provide, protect the borders, the felling of the trees, the dangerous jobs, the arm, whatever, the things that men biologically are made for, right, involve getting in line. It doesn't involve a lot of fighting for my self-esteem or my particular position, that kind of a thing. No, you just kind of fall in line. Another thing I was going to ask you is with regards to okay, let me see here. Yes, I got this board here and I actually use it on the economics versus politics thing. I want to ask you, because a lot of times anytime when a dichotomy is mentioned, it's typically because, or in this particular kind of frame, it's typically because both things are important, but it's just a question of emphasis, number one, or a question of what do you do first, number two. So I want to ask you what your thoughts are regarding, some people may say, yes, these two things, because it's always about trade-off, right? When you're trading something off, they're both valuable, they both needed, but it's a question of how do I get there? And some will say, you need the money though to play the politics, right? And then there's some particular ends perhaps that are more suited to just straight up bribery and money power, right? And then there are others that may be more suited to a more political ends. But what is your view as to both are needed, both are important, and how do we balance them? You have any thoughts on that?
Well, initially, I am from the Caribbean, I'm from Jamaica, and a lot of us I think we have a rebellious spirit. But when the brother Polymath broke it down, as far as, and made it like a real life situation, to me, it makes more sense to tackle it first from an economic standpoint. So I think that's the priority, and then the political. But without the money, there is no power. So I think gotta tackle it from the economical standpoint first, or that's the most important part.
Gotcha. Okay, now let's go this way. Blind Guy, his wife, their life. Any reactions to the other things that have been put on the table so far? Because again, we saw Master P, right? We saw Master P and the hood saying he's a bad guy, and but I don't think they have such a great reputation. If they're having to sell, let me put it this way: if you're having to sell socks, to do XYZ, I don't know. You just kind of, you get what I'm saying? You don't have a lot of what they call it in court, credibility, right? Your credibility is kind of down. You're talking shit about Master P because you have to sell socks to eat. It's like, I don't know. What do you guys have to say about that and any other thing?
Well, first thing I would say, maybe that post was a typo. Maybe that S was supposed to be an R. That might explain some of things in socks. That would have made it a little bit more. That would have made more sense. That would have made more sense
in the socks,
right? Going back to what you were saying, I think there's that model has been set, but I just don't think that's been taught, as far as reaching back and pulling other people up. Because, we do see it. Let's just be frank. We see it a lot in the Asian community where they'll come here, one person will come and then they'll establish a business. They don't mind, living in one house together for a while. And then next thing you know, you got a generation of doctors, lawyers, and engineers coming out of that family. And they're all pulling each other up as they go up the ladder. I've seen that. Shout out to one of my favorite history professors, Dr. Muhammad Sila, when I was in college. One of the things he said, yeah, I'm over here. He said, I got my PhD. He said, I'm teaching. He said,
wait, what was his ethnicity?
He was from Sierra Leone. And he says, I know that I am expected to help bring my brother over here. And my brother is living with me right now. And he said, and once he gets his degree, then I know the two of us are expected to bring our other brother over here. And once he gets his degree, then we're going to bring our parents over here. and then we'll bring some nieces and some nephews, and it's just like it's taught in a positive way. It's done in a positive way, and I get what you're saying, because you do have those people that'll be like, well, yeah, man, you got yours, so help me get mine. I just need like a couple of $1 million just to make this, make this home movie I've been filming for the last 20 years. So help a brother out, man, and stuff like that. And I get it, and like I said, so I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it's not taught correctly in a community like that Master P is coming from. I did want to circle back to something that the sister Kareen, I hope I'm saying it right, that she said about the black men just kind of taking it on the job and the black women speaking out. Well, I'm married to a black woman. And if I go on the job and I want to stand on my principles or something, and I come home without that job, and there's still bills to pay, and there's still children to feed, and things of that nature, it's going to be some slow singing and flower bringing on my end. So the consequences for men are a lot stronger. So they're like, man, I'm the provider. There's nobody here to catch me if I take this fall, if I take this heat, because I want to stand on my principles. So if you want to call that person a simp, I don't know. I think it's called being more mature and forward thinking as far as like, I got a family to be concerned of. Whereas the women, and don't get me wrong, I said at the end of the day, if you fall, you have a husband at home. If you don't have a husband at home, you might have, there's some assistance that you can get from the government that guys can get a few weeks of unemployment and we're done. And whereas women might have a little bit more flexibility.
We got a lot more social benefits.
Yeah, social benefits. Yeah. Thank you. And so I think that's why you'll see, the women kind of go rah-rah on the job, whereas the men are kind of like, I'll get you back another way. Because trust and believe, brothers, when we getting that treatment, there's a way that we're going to get it back. We're going to level the playing field. And like I said, that's when, as Ike says, we'll all turn into crooked Nigerians real quick and find a way to level that playing field and get ourselves back right. So yeah, that's what those are some things I wanted to respond to. Like I said, that whole Master P thing, I think that's just another one of those misguided teachings that that we could learn from other cultures, that even our own African culture, African-based cultures, of each one reach back and teach one and pull them up, and that's your obligation, that's your duty. But like I said, it shouldn't just be I reach back and then buy you a house and a car and then you're set for life. It should be I reach back, pull you up, get you to a point where you can pull somebody too. So
exactly, and that's the thing that you said there. You're like, I bring him, and when then he gets his degree, in other words, he's bringing someone over that can and will get a degree, right? He's not just bringing Roger from the corner store. That's the idea here. It's like,
with his socks.
Selling socks. But Dr. K. Polymath, any comment on what's been said so far? Economics versus politics, or, helping people, but doing it in the right way, knowing who to help, knowing how not to get back and sucked into the spirit of poverty, if you will.
Yeah, actually, that's a good question there. I want to go back to what the sister said about how Black women may have slightly different behavioral psychology when it comes to corporate scenarios. There was a video/research paper I saw that actually showed that Black women are actually in a unique position to be technically able to be as successful as a white man, or if not more successful, because they have more masculinity than in terms of expressing themselves than white women, but they have less masculinity than Black men. And that actually puts them in a unique position. And because they're women as well, they can actually say and do certain things. So if they were organized in a certain way, they might actually be in a very unique position. With Black men, if they start doing things in a certain overtly assertive manner, they're going to be accused of aggression. Now, they'll try to do that too with the Black woman, but it won't stick, especially due to the psychosexual gender dynamics currently. So really, actually, Black women, if they organize in a certain way, they have a lot of potential to move up the corporate ladder in a very smooth way compared to some other people. Now, in regards to should you give back to the community, should you help? I think the model that I take is a similar model to how I believe about basically kakunas giving money to African countries. I don't think you should help people.
What are kakunas for those who are not versed in your special vocabulary?
All right, kakuna comes from the word caucus. So people come from the Caucasus Mountains. So,
Caucasians. Go ahead.
Well, not necessarily Asians, right? I don't want to include the Asian part because that's slightly different, right? The true Caucasians are actually Iranians.
We got animus for a very particular set of people here.
Right,
you got
exactly, yeah.
particular beef.
Right.
Not just all of them. No, not all of them. I don't. Not the Russians. Not the ones from the
Right.
Eurasian part.
Russians. Hey,
There's a particular
Russians,
beef.
Right, exactly. Russians never did nothing to me, right? In fact, they were the first slaves. Anyways, so the point here I'm making is that I believe that if you want to help someone, you need to think about their future and actually allow that help to trickle down across their lifetime in several instances of time. So maybe months, years, or etc. So if you just give someone to alleviate their pain in that moment, if they need it to survive, that's a different case. Let's say someone needs a life-saving surgery or things of that effect, or food, fine, feed them, keep them alive. But if you're feeding them or clothing them or housing them to make yourself feel better, you're actually causing them more perturbations in their potential to find and make their own reality a being in this world. You need to help if it will help them across time. Teach them a skill. Like, for example, when I employ someone, I teach them a skill as I employ them. I only employ people who are willing to be skilled and taught as well. If people ask me for money, I never give money. Like, you know that. You are a different case. You like to give money to people. But people like me, I don't give any money to anyone unless they do something for me. And that's just my rule.
It's a Nigerian thing, okay? You know about the spraying of money at parties? You guys know that thing. Right?
I know in Nigeria, like, women basically expect men to give them money because they do.
All that craziness with the West African culture and the African American culture as well, because we all that flossing, all that stuff, we take full responsibility. Yeah, go ahead.
Right, but in East Africa, actually, what's happening is a lot of Nigerian men taking our women because, well, they spray the money. So, I guess it's working out for you guys. But the point I want to finish there is that if I'm going to help someone, I want their life to truly be changed. And I only take on apprentices who are going to work. I don't give them difficult work, very easy. And I believe that actually helps them. They come back usually after a few months or years and say, hey, you know what? I really appreciated that. You seemed a little bit cold by saying no unless I do this, but this is why I am, and XYZ.
100%, sir. And we have Dr. Thunder, and yes, Snuggles put that thing up there while we were talking about it. And why do we do that? It's because we are Bantu arrogant bastards. We are that thing. We are what we are, right? You get it. It's you want to explain what the Bantus are? What's your
yeah.
So because there are different kinds of Africans. Okay, the different kinds of Africans for everybody to understand. Let's talk about two extremes. You guys have seen Ethiopians, right?
Well, you could use North Africans. I think that's more extreme, but
or maybe North. Okay, but
Okay.
kind of have an understanding
within the black. Okay, within
versus
the
a
black
Nigerian, right? And a Nigerian just kind of like an African American, that kind of same, again, West African versus. Those two people are barely even the same race, right? In a certain sense.
Actually, they're not technically the same race.
Exactly, they're not the same race. So tell us about the races of Africa, because a lot of times people just talk about the tribes of Africa, not understanding that the Bantus, Nigerian, African American type that's not the same as a Somali man, for example. Totally different person.
Right. Yeah, so in Africa, Africa is the most racially diverse continent on the planet, meaning every single, not every tribe, but depending on the region, different tribes are basically more or less different races. Some tribes are more related to Asian people than other Africans in the same region. So an example is the Nigerian type people. They're very different from, let's say, a Somali type people, but both black, but different genes, for example. So if you trace people back through the father's line, you might see, the Bantus type, the stereotypical black look, the most successful black people in the world in terms of breeding. They have a gene called E1B1A. That is the father's line gene. Some of the more Cushitic tribes, they have E1B1B, which is linked to parts of the, the Middle East, so-called Middle East, which is actually Northeast Africa, still in the same continental plate. And then you have, those really super dark people. We all know them, the South Sudanese. There's superly tall people who have an average height of 6'5" inches. Beautiful black people, super black. These are the Sudanese, and they are another race of black people as well, for example. So we have so much diversity in Africa. So, and each of them have unique traits. For example, the Bantus tend to have a much easier time gaining muscle, for example, structure. The Cushitics, like Somalis, they're going to remain skinny, quite tall. and they're not going to put on muscle as easy. Then you have the Sudanese, the Dinkas. They have got the tall gene, and also they're great at running. Like I'm Kenyan, for example. We're the best long distance runners, and the reason why we're the best long distance. Okay, Ethiopians compete with us, fine, and Somalis, fine, but we're still the best. We're the best long distance runners because we have a tribe in Kenya called the Kalenjin. This is a Nilotic tribe. They're part of that Sudanese type of tribe, thin, skinny, and able to run. Yeah, this is a Sudanese, like beautiful, dark black. I mean, it's just perfect. It's like
Yeah,
God
beautiful.
chiseled them.
Chill. Go on with your story.
Right.
Something for women.
Right. So so that's a different general tribes of Africa. Then you have the pygmies. They're like average 4 foot tall. So if you were to say all these people are one race, they're not. They're all separate, different races when it comes to genes. And yeah.
Okay, so there you go. So you have the Bantus, and people ask the reason why we went down this little diatribe and history lesson, or shall we say, whatever it may be, geography / ethnography, anthropology lesson, is because Snuggles asked, hey, why do Nigerians do that thing? So it's because we're Bantus. What do Bantu men look like compared to other men, sir?
They tend, just to answer, I think anti-gravity. Please don't say that the Arabs relate to Somalis. I didn't say that they're related to Somalis. I said that they have the Arabs in the peninsula in Yemen have a similar genotype, which they got from the Somalis because obviously they share a border. Well, they share small islands. But to answer your question, the Bantus tend to have a quite, a very demanding physical look. Like they're the kind of guy who goes to the gym for 2 months, comes out looking like, what's that name? Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example. They have that kind of more stocky built, easy to put on muscle kind of look. And they tend to have facial features which are a little bit, just, this stereotypical black man. We all know what it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Testosterone?
A lot of testosterone, a lot more than some of the other tribes. So
okay, so so we went all around just to explain why there was all that money on the dance floor. Do I have to say anymore? It's the tribe with the big black guys, a lot of testosterone, doing crazy shit. That's what we do. So, Dr. Thunder, what you got for us, sir?
Yeah, thanks for having me. All right, so maybe if I do one of those, what is it? 24andMe or what is it? The 23andMe.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm Bantu or something. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think so.
I'm based on what Dr. Polymath said with the super black. I guess I'm Sudanese.
So I'm gonna digress a little bit. Ike said something about this Nigerian sort of ethic of, if you worked hard, how many rules did you break? That's like evidence of effort. And that's an interesting, sometimes I put it this way, it's better to ask for forgiveness than for permission. And you just have to get it in and not be concerned about whose feelings you're hurting and whoever is sitting there waiting for people to break the rules to chastise them. You just have to not care about that guy, because at some level, all of these rules and policies, someone made them up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think one problem that Black people have, we tend to be very good rule followers. Okay, and this is one of the reasons why when the abortion laws changed to make abortion legal and unrestricted, prior to the legalization, I'm talking about Roe versus Wade. Prior to that, you hardly could find any black folks, black women that had abortions, legal or illegal, you know. But after, it skyrocketed because we tend to be, that's it's an aspect of our tendency to want to follow the rules. It's one of the reasons why all of the laws and policies on the book, all of the governmental policies disproportionately impact us. It's because we want to try to do it the right way.
So what you're saying is basically rules are made by people and they're made for
right.
their benefit. If you're not the one following the rules, you are a pawn in someone else's game. Something
That's
like
right. Something like that, exactly. And in America, the thing is, this is not a monarchy. And the laws, the rules, they do not emanate from the throne, right? So, you know, we get to vote. You know, we get to vote in, you know, laws that we want. If we don't like laws, then we protest against them and get them changed, right? That's part of the American way. And so, though I am not a fan of protest because it doesn't do anything for the most part, sometimes it's necessary. But you know, my approach has always been more of a Booker T kind of approach, sort of, you know, become the best within the system, that kind of a thing, as opposed to the sort of I can't. I'm missing his name right now. Du Bois. Yeah, Du Bois. Yeah. W.E.B. Du Bois method, which is to protest. So those tend to be the two manners of conduct there. So anyhow, you know, so we have to get off of the whole, you know, such and such said you have to do it this way and X, Y, and Z. You got to do it the right way. All that stuff. That's just talk.
I have a question for you, Dr. Fan.
Go ahead.
This is a question that I actually got my mom. I engaged with her in the same conversation. So, and I think it's the moral arguments, we tend to fall into the moral arguments with people with a lot more power. And I think I had a conversation with Integrity and what's his name, Abba and Preach. But I think we tend to go into conversations, we involve morality in things which aren't that significant, really, if we're honest about it. And then we kind of pedal ourselves onto it, even though it affects us at a disproportional way. So let me give an example. Taxes. Now, when I was younger, we weren't so rich at some point. And basically, I was on this thing called EMA, Educational Maintenance Allowance. It's given to poor families in order for them to, when their son or daughter is in the high school, to stay in high school instead of dropping out, basically, to help them, you know, food and whatever they need as kids to go out and stuff. So I remember that with my rich friends, right? These rich friends, they were Indian and Kakunas. They actually were, they were doctors, and by doctors I mean like consultants, earning over £200,000, which is like almost $300,000 a year. And they had big businesses and big houses. They were getting it too. So I thought to myself, how is this possible? They explained that it was the taxes, that they have a taxer, they have an accountant who basically accounts and makes sure that the so-called earnings is reduced to a point whereby they only get paid in bonuses or extra other stuff I didn't understand at the time, and that they're able to give their kids this education and maintenance allowance. Now, when I told people about this, they were, oh, that's wrong. And you know what? You could say, yeah, even I agree, technically it's wrong. But here's the thing. That's how the rich do it. But the rest of us who are poor out here struggling, we're out here playing this moral game at that level while the rich are using every advantage. Because I think one thing we don't understand is this. The system will not change its rules to help you when you're truly in need. In the same way, the system is not going to, you know, be violated if you actually operate within its rules either. So in a way, we've got this weird relationship with the system. It's when it's against us, we just sort of allow it to happen. When it's for us, we don't take and utilize it to the full extent. So I told my mom how to do her taxes. I told her how to claim everything on her taxes, and now she's a lot happier, richer, and managing well.
Yeah, this is interesting. There's a nuance here, and that is uh, the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law, right? So,
Mm,
so the problem is, especially when we're talking about these man-made laws, right? So I'm not talking about the Bible now, right? I'm talking about man-made laws, stuff that some folks voted in, some politicians slid under there. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. So what the system tries to do to those that can't afford to fight with the system is they say, but it's the spirit of the law, you know. It's but with those that can afford to fight the system, they're always able to just barely clear the letter of the law, you know. And that's always an issue. But what we need to do is we need to say, you know what, as long as I am barely, you know, doing what I'm supposed to do, just barely, by the smallest margin as possible,
As long as it's
then
barely
you need to
legal.
start. Yeah, then you have to start seeing that as right, because it is. I mean, it is right. Otherwise, you're just doing more than is necessary. And doing more than is necessary is not more right. It's just dumb.
Does that answer your question, K Polymath?
yes and no. So I do agree with him from my level, but I don't know if that's it's applicable to the average black man, just because there's too much nuance in there, and sometimes when there's so much nuance, it confuses you on how to act. So I
Yeah,
think
that's
as a
that's
leader,
another way. Well, that's another way that they. That's another way that the system disadvantages, in general, people that aren't as educated and or just poor.
Hmm.
It disadvantages them by. I mean, there's so much code. I mean, there's so much. I mean, it's ungodly amount. And I frequently think, why don't they just scrap all of this crap code and just start over with something that's clean and neat and easy. I mean, like every once in a while, you'll hear what one of the politicians say, "Hey, we're going to get rid of the tax code, and we're just going to put all of the rules on something that you can fill out, like something the size of a postcard, to get all your stuff in." But they're never going to do that because uh, um, they're getting a lot more money. The government is getting a lot more money because of the way that the code is, and also they're also able to tighten up their cronies to a greater extent because of all of the hidden loopholes. So it's never going to change. They're never going to change that. So what you have to do is you have to say, you know what? I don't care what your rules are. I'm just going to keep doing what I need to do, whatever that is, and then you know. I suppose certain things are more of a risk to do that in, but to the extent that you can, I mean, it's like stuff like I don't know, it's like stuff like helmet laws or something, like
Right.
what is really going to happen if you are not riding with your helmet on? And actually, up in state of Michigan, where they had helmet laws, now they don't have helmet laws because all of the bikers said, you know what, we're not going to wear helmets, and unless you want to arrest all of us. Matter of fact, every year they had a protest event where all of them drove up to the Capitol without helmets on. They said, "Well, are you going to arrest all of us?" And then eventually they said, "Well, we're getting tired of this. I don't want to see any more bikers up here in the state capitol." So they changed that law.
Right.
Now I'm a I have a motorcycle and I'm a helmet person. I grew up that way, and but that's my choice, right? It's my choice to wear the helmet. But anyhow, The other reason that I wanted to come up on the panel is if Ike is all right with it, I want to promote my show, which Ike is going to be joining me for tomorrow night.
Yep. Tomorrow night, indeed. Right there in
Yeah.
Dr. Thunder's channel. Is it Thunder's Thoughts? Go ahead.
That's right. It's Thunder's Thoughts, and the name of the show is Mainstream Media Coming for the Black Manosphere, and it's going to be 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, and let's see here. We're going to be reviewing a Dennis Sperling video. It's the video called "Hollywood Attacks the Black Manosphere." I told you so. It was bound to happen. And then also an article by Aaron G. Fountain Jr. Called "The Black Manosphere is Not an Ally to Black Women." So we're going to we're gonna chop it up about that stuff. So it's going to be interesting, fun show, and thanks Ike for agreeing to do it.
I have a question.
Not a problem. So let me go ahead and complicate things a little bit, and then we're gonna have commentary, on this particular issue right here. This is a scam that happened, okay, and the scam happened to the black guy in the in the relationship. He was the simp in this one, right? He got taken. So let's play this, okay, and then we'll come back and kind of just give our thoughts on this other angle. Because again, and maybe this is good time for me to just kind of reiterate something. Reiterate what? Reiterate what we're talking about.
Hold on a second, Ike. Can I say something real quick?
Yep.
Okay, so I just want Corey to know that there's like this black guy. I'm just trying to let him know what we see before this starts. He's walking up to somewhere that says U.S. Bank, something, Tangram Payment, Pacific Trial, Attorney. I don't know what the rest of the sign said, but he's basically walking up to a bank, I guess. And so just so that you know, like,
okay,
Ike set it up, but so you know the visual, he's outside. I guess he's going to walk into this building or what have you.
Got you.
Indeed. And exposing $100 million fraudulent corporate takeover. Okay. So again, we're talking about simp. We're talking about the idea that there is an ethnic reputation of the black man as being the simp of corporate world. And we expanded corporate world into the entire world of power, as a matter of fact. And then we made sure that we define what simping is. It's a mode of operation. It's a way of being, a manner of operating whereby you're out there looking for something. The thing is not giving you what you want, but rather than change in order to get the outcomes that you want, you go from this place of hope and expectations and special pleading and crying and praying and all that kind of stuff. And anyways, so since then, we've kind of continued on the different aspects of it. Okay, how about the aspect of, not actually going out there and organizing and getting things done behind the scenes, choosing politics over economics. Is the economics what we got to do first before we get the politics going? All that stuff, so on and so forth. What do you do about the people in the hood who want help? But whom do you bring in other words? You bring in the people, as Corey was saying, that are able to, hey, get the next thing done so they can bring the next person on. You don't just bring somebody in who's just going to be another mouth to feed. You bring someone in who's going to be a strong link in the chain, because otherwise you don't have a chain, right? You don't have a network and you have no power, no strength. Now we're going to complicate things even further, because after complicating things with the whole Master P thing and people in the, in your family, there is this partnership here. And we're going to play this video, and we're going to see here what happened to this fella. Fair use. You guys hear the sound?
No.
Okay. So, yeah. I'm going to have to reshare where I can click the famous little thing that says share with audio. You know what I'm saying?
Run, come we get it.
Because the peace that is bestowed. Indeed. Okay, so it should have audio now. Apologies for that. Let's see.
This is the story of an entrepreneur slowly losing
Good.
control of a company he founded from a business partner, allegedly using deceit and fraud to create a competing company in the same office. A $10 million lawsuit has been filed, the FBI has been contacted, and now the banks are getting involved. What you'll see today is only the beginning. We need to first begin with the two main characters in this story. Khosrow Maranu and Darnell Ponder created electronic commerce many years ago. Here's Khosrow speaking about their relationship.
Darnell Ponder and I he's like my brother, basically. He's my best man at my wedding. He was the guy who helped me build electronic commerce starting back, I think, in 2011. We've traveled all over the world together. We've also traveled with our significant others together. You know, he knows my family. I've met some of his family. Really, to be honest with you, just like a brother, right? A guy.
I'm going to stop there. Okay. I'm going to mention something, and we're going to go around here and see what we can say about this, right? So what I'm mentioning is this: what he says about this person whom scammed him. By now, we already know if this guy is speaking, then he's the one who didn't get scammed, because the guy who scammed is not going to be in this documentary, right? He's talking about this business partner of him as a brother, traveled with his spouse, and knows his family and all that kind of stuff. Now, I get that that is relevant, but it struck me because I'm the kind of person who would not say those kinds of things, because I don't think that's not my personality to think of those things as relevant. I'll be more talking about the person's character, competence, and so on and so forth. I'll be like, you know what? This guy was a very competent XYZ. That's why I partnered with him. As a matter of fact, he was up on the latest programming language for NFTs in cryptocurrency, blah, 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 that kind of a thing, right? And then you move on and you kind of, but this guy is just talking about, it was like a brother to me, and he met my wife, and I met his wife. Look, I can meet your wife and still rob you, bro. I mean, it's not a big deal, right? Let's begin. First K Polymath, and then we go up from there. Just any quick comments so far about what you've seen and what I've said. Now, I know I'm prejudging and doing all this craziness, but we're having a good time. We're sipping some wine, right? I just think that saying all that kind of stuff. Anyways, go ahead. Any comments?
Yeah. I think your analysis is straight on to begin with. The man didn't mention anything else. Like, okay, you know what? I worked with him, and I like the fact that he had these kinds of ideas, or this is what he brought onto the table. He's already shadowing and creating a narrative in there, because I can see a narrative already kind of brewing up, like the TM just made, that somehow that the other guy is a bad guy. He's trying to paint a picture like, okay, he was my best friend, best man. Now he's going to tell us that he's not, obviously. So he's already trying to create a narrative. I can see that.
Okay, and Karine,
yes.
Any comments so far?
Yes, it seems like he went into this business with this guy from an emotional standpoint, though. Like you mentioned, he didn't mention anything about, the guy's background as far as what his skills were, or it's more so, I knew him and we were friends, and, he met my wife, and that's not really a good reason to like go into business with someone. So it seems like he makes decisions based on emotions.
Indeed. Now, so blind guy, his wife, their life. There is, before you react to it, there is that nuance though, that when you start a business with somebody, okay, because especially when you new venture, you guys are gonna go out and take the world, right? You guys are gonna start PayPal together. You're Elon Musk and Peter Thiel or something like that, right? It's almost like a marriage, right? Because it's gonna be rough, it's gonna be hard, things are gonna it's gonna take years. It's gonna be a lot that goes on. So people say you want to go beyond just the knowing of the surface. I'm complicating it, that it is true that you want to know somebody beyond just superficial. Like, you're not just going to read their resume and then decide to start a business with them of that kind of sort, that kind of big time endeavor. But still, just looking at it, the way he presented it, seemed like he was just kind of focusing on the absolutely wrong thing. So what are your comments?
I listened to it and I just caught something different, and I hear exactly, and I agree with what you're saying, but it's a lie. The lie in there somewhere is because he's like, oh, we were best friends. He was the best man at my wedding. He knows my family. He says, I know some of his family.
Okay.
And when he said that, I said, okay, there's not a real relationship there. because if we're that buddy close tight, then I'm gonna know the same amount of family members you know on my side of the family, and that right there says, okay, you were probably dragging this guy along so you could take advantage of him, and this guy wasn't. You really didn't hold him of any value because he was only involved with you. You weren't really involved with him because you only know some of his family. And that right there to me was like, oh, okay, so this is not a balanced relationship to begin with.
Okay, so even in this relationship, he's wrong. Not only okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's another level of nuance. Okay, so let's continue. Fair use, ladies and gentlemen.
Someone you meet who becomes a business partner, who becomes a friend, who becomes a brother to you.
How did these two reach a point where Darnell won't even answer his door when Khosrow visits the offices of the company these two founded? Darnell looks more concerned with his phone than he is with saying hello to an old best friend. Given that plenty of lawyers will be
all this simpy knocking too. They didn't make him look good in this thing. He's
also,
knocking on the guys.
If they're already having issues, right? Why would he? If they have issues, why would he be saying hi to him?
Yeah, I would keep my door locked.
They're telling us that they're having issues with like HR, or maybe they even mentioned something else, and the guy's, oh hey brother, I'm just trying to do bad things to you, but hey, what?
That is kind of funny though. I mean, he's out there knocking meekly on the guy's window, and the guy's just ignoring him. I don't know what they think they're proving by this, but anyways, let's continue.
Knocking on his door soon. This could be interpreted as Darnell practicing pleading the fifth. The company in question is called Electronic Commerce.
Electronic Commerce is a full service payment provider. So we started off as a retail entity up under a processing platform called First Data. And we started as a retail entity. And what that means is that even though we're the sales and the marketing side of the business, First Data through Wells Fargo handles all of our underwriting. They handle all of our risks. They were even handling our customer service and tech support, to be honest with you. And so we would just bring the deals in.
They operate within the payment processing space where they handle credit card payments for their clients, also known as merchants.
And so after about maybe 5 years or so of going through that, paying exorbitant fees, we decided that we wanted to hold the risk ourselves, because that was the big difference between a retail and what we are today, which is considered FSP, full service payment provider. Retail entities don't hold risk. We're not responsible for it. The processor is. So we decided to come to a point where we're going to hold risk ourselves.
It's very important to understand how this company operates and the business they reside within in order to understand the alleged claims of fraud and the freezing out of Khosrow from the business he founded.
And to build up to that, it was just Darnell and I. We literally started with two guys. He handled more so the back office when I was basically driving around, flying around, doing everything I could to bring in clients, like literally everything, flying all over freaking America, it felt like.
Okay, a couple of things have been said, and then let's go again, similar order, K Polymath and such. The thing that was said here, most proximate thing, is him going all around the country, right? He's out there hustling, doing the salesman, blah, blah, blah. He said that Darnell handles all, right? The back office
everything.
Stuff, right? He didn't even say like, oh, he is in charge of, to say he's in charge of operations is one thing.
Shout out to the not all guys. I guess this time you're right.
Okay,
it really is all of the other stuff.
Inside baseball joke there. It's not, but no, he's in charge of the accounting and the hiring and the this and the that. He was in charge of everything that had to do with the actual entity, right? The corporate entity or the business, right? That he thought he was a part of while he was out there hustling, right? And also, you just kind of more fleshed out the idea of the kind of business that they're in, okay? They're in this business where they process payments, right? Before, we're not holding any kind of risk, if you will. Like they were not some kind of a bank type thing. And they wanted to move now to a bank type thing. But anyways, any reactions so far, K Polymath, regarding what you've heard?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just co-sign on what you said about the fact that all the back end stuff was handled by someone else. He apparently didn't have any access. It's not just, he was better suited for it and they had discussions. I don't think he knows what's going on in the company from what he just said there. Meaning his job is to go get clients, but he's not involved himself on any operations or any of the technical side support, for example? Because if you said before Wells Fargo and these banks was doing the the actual handling of the money and the risk, now they're doing it. Well, how can they be doing it if it's actually his partner at the back doing everything? So there's already some issues there. He doesn't even know. Okay, is his partner qualified to be handling that cash, for example? Because he's not doing it. So it's kind of ringing some bells in here. It's like, how do you go from a real estate provider, whatever you said, to a full service provider? Basically, they're pseudo bank, and to be a pseudo bank, it takes a lot of money, time, and also accreditations to actually be allowed to handle people's money like that with risk. That's what separates the banks from some of these other holders and trusts. So yeah, there's a lot of, he doesn't seem to be understanding the actual nature of the financial sector enough.
I see. And this also demonstrates the imbalance that Corey pointed to out there, the imbalance in the relationship. There's an imbalance in the personal relationship, and there's an imbalance also in the business relationship, it seems. So, Karine, what you got for us, if anything?
Yeah, and it seems to me he's more like an employee. An employee, you go out, you get the business, you don't know the money end of things, you just get your paycheck and you keep it moving. Like, he has no idea of what's going on in the back end. He's just going out there and doing the work. He's completely disconnected from everything else. He's an employee. He's not a partner.
Damn, homeboy got played.
Big time.
So, you got anything for us, Corey?
Like I said, I agree with Karine.
Karine.
I'm sorry, Karine. I agree with Karine. Dude was just a mule, and Darnell was just behind the plow, walking behind the plow, just getting the cash, And so it's messed up that but that happens a lot because, like I said, with the brother. Again, it goes back to what I said before. He knows everything about you. You don't know everything about him. He knows everything about the job. You don't know everything about the job. So now he's got all the money, and then you're sitting there looking like you about to cry, So
He gonna cry when he get in the car.
Like you tapping on the door like, come on, man, let me in,
right?
Dude. Come on, man, you see me? Come on, man.
Best friend.
And dude's like, do.
Right?
So, wasn't it like a similar situation, very different, but similar enough between what is it, DJ something, and his kind of crew. I forgot the name. I can't
DJ
think.
Khaled? Which DJ?
No, it's a different guy. I forgot his name, but similar situation. He had them as contractors to work for his studio, but then they realized, you know what? Where's the money? Because they're supposed to get a percentage of the cut of the business, not just being paid a salary. Because they realized
Joe Biden.
Right. There was something fishy was happening with them as well.
Yeah.
So not giving them, access to the papers, even though they were legally entitled, due to the way they signed the contracts. But anyways, I think there's something else going on here. Is that this man, the way that he's speaking about the other guy is that, I think he might look up to him. I think he might truly believe that that's his brother, and I think that's a pretty sad situation.
Oh, you think? Wow, you guys are mean. You guys are like, oh, he's gonna cry in the car. Now you're here saying he actually has hope.
Yeah, because how they've just the guy's trying to steal your company, and then you're like, oh, he's not even saying hi to me. I mean, what's your priority?
It's messed up too because a lot of times, especially in the Black community, we do business on emotion. And it sounds like to me this guy was doing business on emotion, a handshake and a pound, and we both of us are brown, so we good. So it's like, nah, you still got to be professional. You still got to. That's what contracts are for. That's what personal agreements are for. The days of the handshaking. I mean, look back in history. Ask anybody any of the Black Little Rascals back in the day about what that handshake and a pound got them. Ask Bojangles what that handshake and a pound got him. Go back. We can't go on the emotions of he's a good person. Yeah, but good people get greedy too. So I think that's what this brother's mistake was. He got all emotional. Yeah, he was the best man at my wedding, man. You know, he caught the garter belt when I threw it, and he gave me the ring in the box in the, and he was there for me. He was my brother. It's like, but it goes back. Some of his family. He knows all of yours. So there's an imbalance right there. So go back to that part, and then it's like, if you probably looked at his family, you said, there's some shady cats in that family. I had to watch this dude. So yeah,
Nigerians in the background.
I ain't saying that one. I'm not saying that one.
I think they're Latin brothers, aren't they? Probably Puerto Rican or something.
Yes, they are. So yeah, let's continue. Let's see how this thing goes down when they try to become a bank.
Driving all over Florida or wherever I was. And then we would recruit a sales rep here and there. I'd train him. He would do what he could. And, we both wore a ton of hats. I lived in Florida. He lived in California. So I would fly out to California literally every week.
These two create electronic commerce and build it into a company handling billions of dollars in credit card transactions. But by the fall of 2019, Darnell Ponder allegedly began taking electronic commerce down a different path without Khosrow's consent or knowledge. Alleged fraud and mishandling customer accounts would soon follow. This is where new characters enter the chat.
So John Lakatos is an interesting character. He's kind of like...
This is like the perfect bad guy showing up, right?
He actually looks bad.
It gets interesting.
It's like, okay, now comes in John Lakatos, and then they show him like, of course John Lakatos is going to be him.
Of course. Commercial bank employee.
I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse.
In the middle of all this. And he worked for our sponsor bank at the time. More and more, he began to tell me, hey, I'm talking to this guy. He's going to be able, he knows the banking system very well. He's going to be able to, get us around many of the things that the bank won't allow us to do. Just like all this, kind of like lofty stuff and, like a quote unquote, an expert inside the bank that can get things done that we can't get done.
John Lakatos plays a major role in this story as he is a central figure in the corporate takeover of electronic commerce. At the time, Khosrow was unaware of what Darnell Ponder was plotting. What Khosrow will find out later is that...
all right. Well, damn. I think, there's some things that have been mentioned, okay, but there are also some things that you guys have obviously seen as we go across here. One thing that I immediately noticed, of course, is him talking about what Mr. Lakatos was going to do in a very, shall we say, uneducated way. I'm not sure if he understands this or not, or it may be that he did not convey an understanding of it to us anyways. I don't think he quite understood it, right? Mm-hmm. And here's an important thing here. I was talking about people being scammy the other earlier. I'm talking about the whole Nigerian thing and then breaking rules, because this is about breaking rules too, right? And that's why I selected this video, okay? The thing is, and it's a side thing to this, in the sense that when you want to get into a business with somebody, or you have to know what game you guys are playing, right? In other words, if you're going to just take over the dry cleaning business in Milwaukee, okay, which is a big thing, right? It's going to involve some kind of movements, maybe some things that involve maybe breaking some rules and establishing some new rules, right? Because maybe the Milwaukee dry cleaning business is already sewn up by a bunch of Koreans or something, and they got the thing, blah, blah, so on and so forth, right? So you guys are in that mindset state of, so next week when he says, hey, you know what? They say we got to check this box here in order to get XYZ, but we're not checking it, dude. We're just going to go in. You and your partner know. You're like, yeah, this is the game we're in, right? We're here to conquer the world. We're not just here to do a little thing. And I think it's very important that when you get into a business with somebody, this kind of business with somebody, you understand that. In other words, personalities should be different, because personalities are like tools, right? People engage the world differently. Let's say, for example, in terms of somebody being better with people than another. It seems that in this case, he was the people guy, right? That's fine that you have a people person in front and then you have some other person in the back, but it's the values that should be the same, right? If you guys are both crooked Nigerians, know up front that you're both crooked Nigerians. Okay? And there will be no problems, because trust me, let me tell you something, okay? If these guys were doing some crazy scammy things together and they were both in on it, okay, they might have done it, succeeded, come out to be the next biggest whatever, gone public, and then become a publicly traded whatever in NASDAQ, and nobody would have known anything. But anyways, start K. Polymath in what you've seen so far, him bringing this other person in, not understanding how things are going, and him still going around simping, trying to open people's doors who are his mortal enemies. I don't get it. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's just he's extremely misguided. But I think that the point here also is the other guy, the big dude. I think he didn't play the game right either, because obviously he effed up too by basically trying to steal it the way he did in such an obvious way. I think both men failed at the game theory, right? As you mentioned earlier, with game theory is like the idea. One aspect is the idea that, let's say, if two prisoners or two people who are being accused by the police of doing some crime activity, if both of them just keep quiet, they might get each like 12 months in the jail instead of like 20 years because they can't prove enough to get them the full sentence, but they can prove that there's something shady happening. Rather than if one of them speaks, gets 0, and then the other one gets everything. But then in reality, what happens is both of them usually get lied to, and then they both speak, and then they both go to jail. So with the whole game theory thing is choose your partners correctly. Someone who you know that, there's some games that you guys are playing and you're playing it well and you're not just giving it out at the moment of, a small issue coming along.
100%. Kareen, anything for us?
Yeah, this guy was completely out of his league. Like, he has no idea what's going on. To me, he's like the epitome of a simp in the sense where he didn't, whatever they told him, he went along with it. He was not respected and he was not even feared, because like, you're gonna do something like that to a man, I feel like there should have been a little bit of fear, like, okay, what will he do? These guys was just like ignoring him, you know what I mean? So he's just completely out of his league.
Indeed. And what you got for us? Anything, Corey?
I think there were two things I'm kind of noticing now. Now, that knocking on the door, tapping on the window thing, that's a little bit of news station theatrics.
Yeah.
I don't think he's necessarily simping just because that's what he wants to do. I think it's just like, this is going to make this news story that much more interesting. Mm-hmm. So that's part of which in turn is a simp move that you can go along and play yourself on TV like that. Well,
wait, just so you know, Corey, also in the very beginning of this video, they show him like trying to enter the building and like the guys kind of blocking him and him like, trying to push past them. And
like I said, that's all theatrics, because like I said, for real, if it was that much of a beef, it would have been some fist flying or something like that going on, especially if it involves money. But on the real,
and this amount of money.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much as that the dude was, I think it's, again, this dude is coming from a standpoint of just being a poor brother that's coming up. They promised him a lot of money, probably. They promised him a lot of money, a lot of profits, and he just ran with it. It was like, as long as I get the money, I'm happy. So once they went that route, and
you're saying in the very beginning, he knew he was never really a partner.
Yeah, he thought he was a partner, but his version of partnership was, I do this a little bit over here, I get a whole lot of money on this end, and he's getting a whole lot of money on this end, and he's doing this, and we're all just gonna be, nice, rich, and have fat pockets. But then in the background, Donnell's like, I got this one because I got an all day sucker here. I'm gonna eat this lollipop. And then that's when you hear that little music, because the Godfather steps in. It's like, I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse. And then I can't even say the dude's name, Legato, Lestaco,
John Lacatus. Yeah, oh man, he looks just like the character too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just the names are little, and it's like
instep.
Here comes the mafia, and then it's like this dude right off the bat, when that guy said he was bringing in this, I forgot the man's name again, the mafia dude. When he brought in that dude, he should have known right away, it's something getting ready to shake down really bad, and I just need to back out of here as fast as possible, or I need to hurry up and learn to back into this business so I can cover my behind. And unfortunately, like I said, I think he just saw dollar signs everywhere, and then he found himself not getting any of that money anymore. So
what about the black on black crime that Snuggles was talking about?
No, see, I can't say, because I don't know if I don't know. I guess one dude is black. I don't know what the other guys are. What the other guys black?
Darnell has a black sounding name.
Yeah, he got a black sounding name, but is he black?
Yeah, it looks like he's got some dark. He's a darker kind of Puerto Rican. He's got the blood in there, but that's you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
he's got African genes in him.
He's got African genes. They both got African genes in them.
Well, okay, he's what some people would actually classify as black.
Okay, all right. Well,
And then just so that you know, like Shozan Hanma just clarified it, saying the black community already considers a lot of us not black, quote unquote, not black enough. So we can't even say black on black crime because we can't even decide what black is. Like, you know how we're like, yeah, I think he got some black gene in him. We're like trying to check him out, trying to figure, and we're just going by the name Darnell, you know.
right. Yeah, that'd be funny to see.
But his speech is I definitely think he's got an African American type of speech.
Oh, you mean no? The definitely the guy that speak. You know that got.
Oh, you mean the big guy, right?
Yeah, we were talking about the big guy. The big guy also has.
Yeah.
Also
He's got
is
native black and some Iberian.
He could be like a West Indian too, like his a Trinidadian parentage, where a little bit of Indian mixed in with black.
Kareem Green got you covered.
All right, thank you very much. So it's kind of like black on black, American Indian, Hispanic looking, possible Nigerian, Jamaican, Siberian.
It's just crime. So at this point, we can just call
it's
it
just
crime.
crime. Like I said, so
Hey,
like I said,
some could say that he's trying to cozy up more with the Latina side. That's why he brought in that like Tatos guy to come in and some stuff going on.
So again, whether it's coming together, writing papers, right, and moving some levers in behind the scenes, or not, this is a case where I think that they just will not align value wise, right? And Juan was being treated like a sucker, if you will, right? And again, if they were both in the same level, and I don't know the level of rule breaking that went on here, right? I don't know if it was outright, and we'll listen a little bit more, if it was outright stealing, or maybe they broke some rules of the financial sector. To which I say, F the financial sector and its rules, right? It's like, if you're breaking rules of like money's not even real, okay? Let's just start there, okay? So when you start talking about the rules, whereby some people have the ability to push a button and do quantitative easing and change all kinds of things, then it's like, okay, whatever, do whatever you want. But fair use, let us continue, ladies and gentlemen. Let us continue.
John was brought in under the pretense that he was a corporate executive for electronic commerce, but really it was for a different shadow company.
I'm out selling and marketing and bringing business in. Darnell's job was to communicate with the bank and to make sure that that whole back end is solid.
Because Khosrow's focus with electronic commerce was to worry about sales away from the office, he was unaware of what Darnell was doing at the office. Darnell's relationship with the sponsoring bank and his control of the back office left Khosrow in the dark about the dubious schemes Darnell began concocting.
I remember him telling me, hey, John introduced me to this guy who's the smartest guy in the industry. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, he's going to show me how to do everything, how to be the best in underwriting, to be the best in risk. He can call his staff at the drop of a dime on a Friday night and get deals done. Like, he was really, I guess, enamored, and he admired this guy named Alan Lacoste.
Next, we have Alan Lacoste. Alan was also brought in to volunteer with electronic commerce, but just so happened to be working at a competing company. This obviously raised some suspicion.
He says, yeah, he's going to introduce me to this guy. And the guy says that he doesn't want anything from me. He'll show me everything for free. I said, for free? He's like, yeah, for free. I said, okay. I said, well, who does he work with? Or who does he work for? He says he works for a company called Nuvei, right? Which is a huge payment processing company, which is a competitor to electronic commerce as well.
Having a strong relationship with their sponsoring bank is crucial for payment processors, as it's necessary to run a successful business in this space. John was seen as an asset because of his relationship with the bank, and Alan was an asset because of his experience within the industry at a competing firm.
And this is why he began working more and more with John Lacoste, who supposedly could turn the bank in a different direction, according to his relationships and his influence at the bank. This guy, Alan Lacoste, was brought in as sort of like a savior for electronic commerce. And at the same time, he would show Darnell everything there is to know about payment processing.
It was months later.
All right, so our boy Darnell, the father, brought in the Son and the Holy Ghost or something in order to kind of set up this thing. And his whole explanation to our friend here is that these people can do miraculous things and they're going to work for free. Hence, he had no idea about the books in terms of who's getting paid what, right? Or again, because that whole corporate structure, the first thing he mentioned, he said that he lives in Florida and Darnell lives in California. First thing I thought of was, where's the company incorporated? Under what state rules does Darnell have kind of like special insight into the particular financial rules in that state, that blah 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 blah, whatever they're in? And so it just seems like layer upon layer, Darnell has all the advantages, knows everything, and could just tell this guy anything. That, oh, you're somebody that can do some magic, and I'm not even paying him anything. And somehow this continued. So any reactions, starting with K Polymath, with more of this information, and then we'll start to wind up because we're approaching 3 hours, and it's been a great conversation. But let's see how far we can go. And by the way, I don't want to keep you guys. Maybe I can go on and on. But any reactions to K Polymath?
Yeah, I mean, the name kind of is interesting. Like Coste, like Katos, these dudes sound like they're related, man. So it's a Father, Son, Holy Ghost situation out here. Who knows? But I think the issue with this brother is things keep happening and the truth is trying to hit him, but he's refusing to acknowledge the truth right in his face. It's almost like he's been hit by slow effect poison, and he, instead of just sort of realizing it and trying to seek for antidote, he's just going on, hoping. I think he's doing hope mechanics out here. He hasn't questioned anything, any kind of. I'll give you a simple example. I don't want to derail this, but a family member or close family member was trying to defraud me and my family business. And when I realized that there were some inconsistencies with the things they're talking about, the house and the real estate and the deed and all that stuff, and when I asked basic questions, I couldn't get it. I sought more information. Guess what? I realized that they had put their house in their name instead of my name, right? Or my family's name. And the reason they gave was reasonable, but the issue was that they didn't tell us to give us consent to do this. So I stopped the whole thing there, and I made sure that we at least get the house back. Now, in the end, they refused to give the house back, and we had to cut it down and give them half of their house. But if I didn't do that, who knows if they would have just taken the whole house when they got the full title deed, and once the house had been, already worth even far more money. So this brother is just not looking at reality. He's playing hope mechanics.
Playing hope mechanics. Kareen, what you got for us regarding these additional characters and what they're supposedly able to do, and the fact that they're just coming in as volunteers, and this guy just takes it?
Yeah, I'm just thinking like this guy is unreal. I just can't understand how someone, a grown man, could be that naive, especially someone who's working in business. It's not like, they found him on the corner and, like he's supposed to know, but it just doesn't make sense how naive he is. It just does not make sense to me. I mean, I'm an employee, and when my company did their the end of the fiscal year and they said how much money we made, I expected a nice bonus. And I'm just an employee and I have expectations. And it seems like he's just taking whatever they tell him. He's just going with it. It just doesn't make sense.
And got anything for us, Corey?
Yeah, I was kind of rolling with the brother, in his sob story, but then it kind of like big dummy. I mean, my friend Sanford was big dummy when he says, "Yeah, I met this guy. He's gonna show me everything that he knows, and then this other guy's gonna come show
you catch
me
those little subtleties." Damn.
Yeah, it's like, well, what about the us, dog? Why you can't show us? Why you can't show you?
Yeah, right. That's a good point.
That's the question. I can't say the word I want to say, but I'll say a brother like me would ask in those type of situations. Like, no, they ain't gonna show you nothing. They gonna show us, because that way I can keep track of what's going on too. And you have a sense of this stuff. You see this stuff coming before. And look who I tell you, I got my eyebrow raised at everybody.
Everybody.
My dad told me he should believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. I can't see, So I don't believe nothing.
I hear that.
So my whole thing is, like I said, you know, this dude is telling you the whole time, me, show me. And it's like, he's telling you, yeah, he's looking out for him. And so that way, and he's bringing in like these two dudes, like Dr. Polyman said, off the street corner. It's like, you know, you don't even know these cats. It's like, okay, well, you know, how are you giving them this much leverage in our company? And then, like I said, then it's like, dun 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 dun. It was the competitor that's gonna give us free services.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. It's like Dex said, it's too much. I can't even go. I can't even support the brother no more. I'm done.
Right?
Big dummy.
Okay, we're gonna catch a little bit more of this if you guys are down. Maybe let's catch a nice little chunk, maybe a 3-minute chunk. See how maybe this thing develops. Give our final closing thoughts regarding this whole topic about the simp stereotype, the simp image of a particular group of people. In this case, we're talking about black men. And we mentioned what a simp is. It's the mode of operation. And why is it particularly problematic for a man to have that mode of operation? Because what a man typically does has nothing to do with the feelings. Okay, has nothing to do with wishes and hopes. Okay, if wishes were horses, as they say, right? Even beggars too would ride, right? Or whatever, right? You're not going to wish the deer or wish your enemies don't cut your head off. Right? Hence, it's problematic for a man to be a simp. So let's continue with the story here. The sad story of the taking over. Fair use. Where
Khosrow started noticing that something wasn't right. He felt in the dark about conversations that were taking place with their sponsoring bank and was starting to get worried that Darnell was doing something that wasn't within the rules of the.
And I got to give a shout out to this guy here, the channel that I'm I believe his name is Spencer. Yeah, check out Spencer. He's a good I don't know if you guys agree with me, but he just kind of says good old style. I'm a reporter. I don't give no commentary.
No
it's nice and clean, facts, as they say.
Industry.
He stopped talking to me because I said, hey man, whatever you're doing, please stop. Like the bank is emailing us like crazy. I remember calling him. I wasn't even clear on what was happening. I just kind of like felt it. And I was like, dude, please, whatever you're doing, please stop. It's not going to turn out good.
Darnell was the best man at Khosrow's wedding, a good friend, and a trusted business partner for years. There's always going to be a level of cognitive dissonance with a trusted friend, as the last thing you'd expect is them allegedly committing fraud or harming a relationship with their bank.
So he's telling the staff, when the bank is emailing us, ignore them. Now, I'm 50% equity owner. He's 50% equity owner. You can't tell me to ignore the bank consistently, but you can instruct them to. And so I finally responded back to the bank, and he just went ballistic over it, right? I'm like, dude, I need to understand what's going on, because I wasn't privy to what he was doing on the back end.
In the lawsuit filed against Darnell Ponder, paragraph 46 reads, beginning in or about the fall of 2019, soon after execution of the LLC agreement, Ponder began managing the operations of EC exclusively and began freezing out Khosrow from EC's operations.
I noticed there was another staff member that worked for Electronic Commerce, sent the email to the bank. I guess he hit reply all, and it had me in it. I'm like, well, what happened to the first email? Because, Darnell controls our GoDaddy account, which is where we get like our Outlook and all that kind of stuff. So he was basically deleting my emails or preventing me from seeing the emails. And so I said, hey man, so he just stopped communicating with me. He literally, because I'm consistently on him about, like, dude, whatever you're doing, stop trying to control me. He was extremely upset that I also communicated with the bank. And that's when I found out that they had been telling us to stop bringing in certain types of high-risk Nutra deals since 2019, probably the middle of 2019. Here we are, March 2020, April 2020. So he just stopped communicating with me.
You have Khosrow out of the office focusing on acquiring new customers, while Darnell is back in the office hiring multiple C-level executives without Khosrow's consent and removing him from important email conversations with the bank. How important were these emails? They were discussing merchant accounts that Electronic Commerce was managing that were rating really high in chargebacks and credit card fraud. Khosrow only became aware that there was an issue when someone included him in an email chain where the bank was throwing up red flags. It was time for Khosrow to visit the offices and see what was going on.
So I flew out to California, and I just pop in the office. And when I walk in my office, I see John Lakatis, who I had never seen.
This is almost too good at this point, and I think this is where I mean, we were speculating, we were shooting the, we were talking ish, we were doing our thing, right? And it turns out that it's just all real. It's we're saying how something he's getting played, and it's just like that, like literally comes in and they're in his office. I mean, like the mob guy is in his office, right? Probably looking at him like, hey, what do you want? But so the thing here, and I'll kind of give you guys commentary on the last and also final thoughts, but this whole idea of stop trying to control me, oh please let me know what's going on, gives credence to the whole what was wrong with the whole thing, right? In other words, he's at fault in this relationship. Darnell obviously did what Darnell did, right? And varying levels of rule breaking, messing up the loyalty here, lying, all kinds of crap, right? But this guy is at fault to be a quote unquote 50% owner of a company where you have to tell your partner, please stop whatever you're doing and stop trying to control me or whatever. When you guys are already processing, because they're processing billions of dollars worth of payments. So they're making millions at this point, right? This guy's hiring all kinds of people and doing all kinds of things. And you're saying, please, right? So Polymath, final thoughts on the situation, because it turns out, by the way, what's going on, in case anybody doesn't see what's going on, they're starting a whole new company. And the company he thinks he has, he no longer has. He's an employee, just as we thought. And go check out Spencer's channel. This series has 4 parts so far on the whole TANGRAM payment scandal, right? So ends up being the case that he's just an employee for TANGRAM, and these guys are the bosses. It's Lacoste and Alan, the other guy, And he comes in, and they're literally in his office. What you got for us, Polymath?
Well, you know what? I think regarding this whole situation, what kept going in my mind is it actually real? Like, for example, have they committed fraud? Because I think that's what they're trying to get up to. Because the way it seems, I think if there's any fraud being committed, I think it's more inside trading more than actual fraud. Because what kind of kept in my mind is earlier they said that this company is trying to go from the banks handling the risk and also monetary funds to a situation whereby they are handling the risks and monetary funds. So that idea when they're talking about saying, oh, the banks are calling us, everything red flags. The guy doesn't know what's going on, right? I don't even think I don't know, but I don't think there's any fraud going on.
So you're thinking, okay, let me try to clarify here, and you will continue, and we got the flow here. But you're thinking, okay, this is the kind of regular the kinds of rough things that need to happen in order to get certain places, right? Don't worry about what's going on with the bank. In other words, if he knew what was going on and he was down with the deals, he would know, okay, this is the kind of friction and heat we're going to need to take at this point while we try to beat the bank out of this little client here. And then we're operating as a risk person, but we're not really a risk person, right? We're not going to be a risk person until next year, blah, blah, blah.
Until they've actually finally got their real insurance, whatever it is. Because I think with this banking things, it's really heavy on, accreditations and certain insurances and stuff. I actually don't think there's any fraud going on. I think what's happening is the banks are realizing, oh crap, this is our biggest client. Because he said in the beginning, they kept getting all the clients and then the banks just handles the risk and the money, right? So what I think is happening is the banks are realizing, oh shoot, they're now processing it through a different agent and they're processing a lot of money and we're not getting the same big check from it. So of course they're going to have the red flags because they want to maintain the business structure and they probably want to, keep around the books, figure out any kind of loopholes that they can get these guys on. So yeah, I don't think there's any fraud here. From the way my mind's working, I think insider trading maybe, not getting all the rules and accreditations and insurances to be a FSC, I believe, financial service. Right. Yeah. I think that's actually what's going on here. So I don't even think that there was fraud, which is interesting.
Yeah, thanks for that kind of nuance there. That maybe the guy was just he just messed up the whole parade. That this was something that they had to do. Sure, it was a little crooked, but if he was kind of down the whole time, and if Darnell was not a total dick, by the way, because we got to give that to him as well. if Darnell did not completely mess things up, then and found the right person to do it. In other words, that Darnell and Lacoste should have been the ones who started the whole thing from the beginning, right? And the other guy, he should have gone straight to the mob.
Yeah, I don't think they trusted him. Actually, I think that they wanted to. I don't think Darnell trusted that guy.
They thought he would snitch.
Yeah, I think so.
There's that vibe there. Not to pick on our friend, even though we've been picking on him, but it was more in the joke mode. But seriously, there is a vibe there. You can just see. Look at this John Lacoste. Looks like a football player, right? And Alan Lacoste is a crooked guy. And they look at this other guy here talking about family and this and that. And they're like, we can't let him into what we're really trying to do.
I get it. Right? I actually get it, right? I wouldn't do that to someone, but I actually get it. I don't think they trusted him.
Okay, Can I also add right there, just so that Corey knows, they always had the original guy with like a backpack on. Like the guy complaining, the guy that got scammed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like the other two have on like a button-down shirt.
I love that. Probably man said simp.
Right. Like he dressed right. Like he had the whole outfit, like the simp costume on and everything, backpack and tow. So that's all I wanted to add, just to give Corey the visualization.
Say it again, Polly man.
This guy's a simp.
The epitome.
He said it's a simp.
Passion.
Karine, any final thoughts on the whole situation, whether it be in this particular regard or the whole thing about taking power, operating within the sphere of economics and politics as well? Any final closing remarks?
Yeah, well, the reply all in email is dangerous. That's number one. But I'm wondering though, because like it's still very hard for me to believe that this guy really did not know what's going on. So I'm wondering if it got kind of hot and he just concocted this story to seem innocent to avoid legal repercussions, because like I just can't believe someone would be that dumb.
See, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, it's like he's like, I don't know anything. He told me this, and which clearly he would have snitched anyways, you know, like he is the type that will snitch, but he's just like completely making himself completely innocent and not knowing. And he's got the cameras following him around and knocking on the doors and like the whole backpack and everything. And just the way he's talking, it just does not connect. He's not even coming off like angry in a way. He's just still coming off like, I didn't know anything. It just does not make sense. I think maybe he was not 100% in on it, but he knew something wasn't on the up and up, and he did not want the legal repercussions to hit him too.
Very, very good analysis indeed. Yes, I also thought of that. I thought that, hey, just like when Corey mentioned earlier, he was promised some money. That's what I kind of thought. I was like, probably just said, hey, you know, we're going to do this thing. We're going to start becoming our own provider. Okay, I have this insights, whatever. You can make this money. And then he was just like, okay, right? And then he started feeling some heat. Emails were flying, this and that. And he's like, oh my God, what's going on? And he's already, basically, and then he started snitching.
Yep, got nervous.
Anyways, what you got for us, Corey? And yeah.
Yeah, just stick with Corey, because you know I'm just here to smile and tell Corey what's on the screen.
You know, when it got towards the tail end of the story about you know all the quote unquote fraud and stuff like that, I have to agree with Polymath, because Dr. Polymath. I say that because the first thing in the beginning of the beginning of the video, he's talking about, you know, Wells Fargo was underwriting them and stuff like that. So okay, now if you got all this money that's floating and it's fraudulent and Wells Fargo is being impacted, you know, let's just call out some others. The bank of this country is being impacted. All these major banks are getting impacted. It's not going to be a news camera. It's not going to be a black man in a backpack tapping on the door saying, hey, let me in. It's going to be feds, police. It's going to be a whole, because there's too much money on the line. So I don't think they were really doing something totally criminal, fraudulent. I mean, even though they look mafia, I don't think they were totally doing crime. But at the same time, this guy right here, the guy that's this crying the blues right now, it just seems like to me he got beat out of some money, and now he's mad about it, and then he's trying to tattletale on people.
Or position. Maybe he wanted the title.
He didn't want that money. He was used to getting that money, and when Darnell said we don't need him anymore,
Darnell and Allen.
Yeah, the Darnell and the Godfather family, they didn't need him anymore. All of a sudden, then he's like, "Hey, I'm being left out. This is not," because remember the story starts he's being frozen out of his own company. That's a crybaby's term. You know, that's to me to say, you know, I've been frozen. I was like, nah, you didn't get frozen. I mean, you know, okay, again, let's go. Just be real. A black man getting cut out of all that money. Oh, it's gonna be some tables being overturned. It's gonna be a door being snatched off the hinges. It might be some gunshots. It's gonna be something. It's gonna make the news, the national news, because it's too much. I mean, 50% of all that money, that's a lot of money, it sounds like to me. So I just don't feel like, you know, I don't feel it's fraud. I just feel like this is a guy that got beat out. He's a gamer. He plays games, and he ran into somebody that was better than him, and he got called checkmate, and now he's out. So that's the way I see it. After seeing that little segment right there, I can't. Yeah, so I don't feel that sorry for him. So.
Indeed. Nice place to end it there. And with Snuggles Snuggles has been expressing the sentiments of fairness and care and how we should, why don't we support a brother? This is the idea to say again, because this is about men, right? Snuggles, if you are a woman, then then let me repeat what I said about the fact that the things that men are supposed to do don't care about your feelings, right? That's why you got to make clear, like, hey, that shit you did that gets you killed in the hunting land, we're not gonna be like, oh, but you gotta. It's like, no, you're gonna get people killed, right? You're gonna get people killed in the military. You're gonna get people over here. You're gonna get protection and provision. The real world, it means, right? And that's the way your external environment is. You did not sign any contract with all those people out there in the corporate world to treat you nicely, to not be snakes, to not be human beings with agenda, to not be crooked Nigerians, for example, right? There's no such contract out there. So there's a rule that you have to follow in this kind of pursuits of conquest of the external world that have to do with, anyways, external versus internal. In internal, yes, warm, make the house the home, cuddly, fairness, very important for community building, but you must point to the places where people have made mistakes and died, right? It'll be a disservice to just not point out the mistakes so that people don't follow it. I think that everything that Corey has been saying about, hey, I met some of his family, right? That kind of thing. But he met just a total imbalance in the relationship. He does all the back office stuff. And then it just kept on multiplying, piling up on top of each other. Okay, these are the things that, as a guy, you can't be doing that shit. And nobody gives a damn whether, it's like, if nobody gives a damn. You screw up the family wealth, you fumble the bag, you do whatever, nobody gives a damn. That you're going to have real life consequences. Ladies and gentlemen. So, I'm feeling like a little acapella to take us out. How do you think about that, Corey?
Hey.
Yeah. Run, can we get it?
Because the peace is
bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So
run, can we get it?
Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can figure it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You want to give us a verse, hey, Polymath? Want to give us a verse?
Me? I can't sing, but you mean like rap, maybe?
Go ahead, rap with that weird accent of yours.
Okay. Give me a nice sing. Sing maybe that thing you're singing. That. Okay, I'm coming in. Right. Sitting out here, we've been doing some rapping. I feel like I finally got released from this trapping. Been caught up too many times, free from prison, but I got sealed too many bars. But Corey's better. I saw some wise words and I respect this man. Instead of just seeing, he's been listening and he's got the upper hand. Okay.
Yes. Academic and polyrhythmic.
Nice. So I'm gonna do a quick verse from so let me pick this Damian Marley one. one of my favorite Damian Marley songs. It's not the popular one at all. It's called One Loaf of Bread, right? And
Junior Gong. All right.
Junior Gong, indeed. Exactly.
Yes.
Christ fed the multitude with only one loaf of bread. Poor people, there is something for you. Don't let the pressures of the system get upon your head. Poor people, there is something for you. Mankind cares not for his sisters anymore. Still, there is something for you. Written in the book of life, we shall live forevermore. There will be something for you. Rasta works are manifest and it a blossom and a bloom. Nature always take its course, the tide is rising with the moon. It only take a spark to put a fire to the fuel. What is hidden in the dark shall be revealed so very soon. Tell Pharaoh, free the prisoners from the dungeons and the doom. You know what I'm saying? That kind, you know, just that kind of thing right there.
More fire! More fire!
Indeed.
All right, Karine, now you gotta hit that Sister Nancy for us.
Bam bam dilla. Bam 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 bilam bam bam.
Hey,
say what a bam bam.
I'm a lady, I'm not a
man. MC is my ambition. I come fit nice up Jamaican. Say bam bam.
Hey, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, we are out.
In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what draws behind the curtain, the face of evil smirking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannons will breach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. Hey, I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
We're still on. We're still on. And
yeah, it looks like we're still live.
Yeah, I saw you guys back there. I'm like, okay, well, they don't seem to be going anywhere in a hurry.
No, we were jamming. We were like just jamming.
That's my song right there.
Yeah. We just happened to be hanging out. Sorry, people. The after show was not intended.
The after show was not intended. But yeah, we're gonna always a good time. Again, people, make sure check out Blind Guy, his wife, their life. Check out their channel, subscribe, like, hit the bell button, hit all that good stuff. Go out there and support. Did a good show recently with the lead attorney and El Guapo there.
Yeah.
Good stuff indeed. But with that, we are gone now